But yes, where should we begin? Who starts their journey here?
I have a feeling that you have a lot more to talk about, so I kind of want you to make sure you get enough
I
airtime.
have quite a bit, yes.
So I'll gladly hand the microphone over to you.
Okay. Well, hello again, all listeners. We'll do a proper intro later, but thank you for bearing with us. We were gone a week. I will gladly explain why we were gone a week momentarily here. Well, first of all, I mean, we did kind of update the Instagram about it, but I went on a big family vacation to the Outer Banks in North Carolina, and overall, it was pretty fun and a good time. However, there was one big hurdle that me and my family had to deal with. So, to start things off, the vacation rental that we were ending up going to in the Outer Banks was called Sitting Duck. But the longer that we stayed at this establishment, we decided we kept giving it other nicknames. And I think we all ended up voting on Sitting Yuck as the new name because, oh boy, this place was a nightmare. And
Yeah, like the very first time, I think the very first night or the second night you were there, just from the way you described it, it sounded nowhere near what I'm sure what you were expecting.
exactly. And
Oof.
we were like really excited for this one because like a few months ago we were trying to decide which one we want to pick, and there's all sorts of different houses that you can rent down there, and we had a big long list, and we all decided on this one. And I mean, honestly, right off the bat, it was hilarious when we got there because out of all the different rental houses there are, ours was like perched on this like hill, and I kid you not, the like driveway to get up to this place was almost like 90 degrees. Like it was crazy how sloped it was. And my mom just got a new car and she was so like mad already. She's like, I hope this doesn't damage my car. And I'm like, oh my God, we're already off to a good time here. But anyways, the house, just to explain it to you guys, it was very dirty, featuring very dusty ceiling fans, food or blood stains. We weren't able to figure that out on the downstairs carpets. I kid you not. There was even dead
Oh my god.
roaches under some of
Oh,
the beds.
that's
Uh,
just, oh, that's vile.
but don't worry, there were also live roaches as well. Yeah.
Oh, phew! Thank goodness.
This house, it just kept giving. Not in the good way though. Just one thing after another. And apparently we did have someone come look at them and they're like, "Oh, those are wood roaches." And I'm like, "Okay, I've never heard of that first of all." And
I've heard of this, but a roach is a roach. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, and these were very big, like at least like an inch to 2 inches. Like you saw it and you just like eek, like a little like, you were just horrified. Um
oh no, thank
So
you.
so yeah, we were all very upset already about all this, and we've been going down to these rentals for years. Like I'm pretty sure since I was a little kid, like my mom would take us all down there, and like we have never had any experiences like this. We've never seen houses this dirty. We've never even seen these roaches, even though the pest lady insured us. She's like, "Oh, these are actually very common. You're very lucky that you haven't had these before." And we're all like, "That's BS.
Yeah.
Come on." Well, that was my theory. I'm like, she's just trying to make us feel better. But besides all that, the background or the backyard like pool area, because there was a pool at this place, which was kind of nice, but is very cluttered and unkempt. Like a lot of the like, what do you call them, like shrubbery or the plants like around the pool
Yeah.
were all like overgrown. A lot of the like lawn furniture, whatever you call that kind of stuff, a lot of it was kind of like rusty and like damaged. They had like a fire pit and literally the whole thing was like caved in from rust on the bottom. So I'm like, why do they even have this? They should just throw this thing away. Like what's the
Yeah. I
point of
mean,
keeping it in the back? Like, it just makes me like
yeah.
scratches my head. Like, why is this thing here? It's an
Yeah. I mean,
eyesore.
yeah. The guy. I don't mean to cut you off, but it sounds like kind of like what you just said. Like, why bother having any of this if it's not going to be kept? Like, like nothing is like well kept. It sounds to me like they just forgot about this place for like 2 years and said, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
let's rent it. Let's rent it out."
exactly. And, we all had to pay a good amount of money. So we were already mad because we're like, yeah, you expect all this stuff to be, in good condition. I'm not saying it's got to be brand new, but you don't expect to see this rusted out piece of junk fire pit. The fire pit wasn't even the worst part, but it was just bothering me every time I saw it. I'm like, why do they even have this here? They should just throw it away. Also, random tangent, but they had like 3 fridges at the place. They had like the one in the main kitchen, which was really nice. It was literally, Mike, you were on to something with that. This place hasn't been, like, no one's been down there in years because they had like a very nice new fridge upstairs. But literally we opened it and we noticed that they had like all the tape, and like when you get a new like piece of electronic, like they have all the padding and like styrofoam to keep it all like secure. A lot of that stuff was still on like the drawers and the stuff in the fridge. Like, we're like, oh my God, this fridge is like so new that it's like not even untouched, or they didn't even like put it together all the way. Like, but anyways, I was going to say they also had like 2 other fridges in the downstairs. It was like 3 different levels, and there were like bedrooms on all floors, and the top had the kitchen and like a living room. But yeah, like there were just 2 fridges down there, and I'm like, I mean, I guess it's nice, if you want to have a lot of drinks or extra food or something for the beach, but like it also just made me scratch my head. I was like, why are there 2 extra fridges in the basement? That's very weird. But also in the basement, they had like a little extra like kitchen-ish area. Like there was a sink and an ice maker. And my mom also discovered under the sink down there was actually black mold growing under the sink.
Oh, God.
Which is also, you don't want to breathe that. That's not.
No, I mean, like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm getting mad for you because this is like.
Thank you.
This is like a health. Like, not only is it just vile and disgusting, that's a health hazard.
Exactly.
And it sounds like you spent, like, as you said, like a fair amount of money. You expect this place to be livable. This is not livable. This is just disgusting. Oh my gosh.
And how this works is like, someone owns this property, and then the staff or this place we go through, like they're the ones who are like, okay, this is an okay place for people to rent and check. And it seems like no one did any of that. Like no one checked that this place was in livable conditions, or like they just did a very quick one over, like, oh, it's good.
Yeah, like it's not on fire. Rent it out.
Also, I mean, this might be a small thing, but the grill outside was like disgusting. I would think they would at least clean it prior to like new guests coming in, but like, yeah, there was a bunch of like caked on, like looked like hamburger or something like that. It just made me go like, ugh. And it made me really just be like, yeah, no wonder the roaches are here. They have their whole feast right outside,
Yeah. At this point, Corey, I'm more surprised when you say things are not dirty. Like the brand new refrigerator is like the only like. That's like the only, like, everything so far you said has been horrible, but there's a brand new refrigerator. That's the only positive thing I've heard so far.
The one thing I actually was really looking forward to is this place had a nice screened-in porch. In the Outer Banks at night, a lot of like mosquitoes come out, and you'll get like eaten alive. So it's nice to have a secluded area where you're not going to get devoured.
Right.
So I was really looking forward to that, and I go in there, and like there's all this like the pink like the stuff you put in the walls, insulation, that's what it's called. Like that was just all over the floors. Like it looked like a squirrel probably got into the roof or something and was pulling it all out. And I'm like, that's also a health hazard too. Like what the heck is all this? Like this should have been cleaned up. There's also like they had like a bunch of plants on the upstairs like balcony, and the one plant was clearly just like a ashtray full of like a bunch of cigarette butts and cigar butts. Which is ironic, too, because I'm pretty sure it said no smoking at the house we're staying at. Anyways, yeah, it's just gross. And it gets better from there.
Oh, my God, it gets better. Oh,
so,
please go on.
So, of course, me and my family, we call the staff and let them know all about this. And they were very nice. They sent a lot of people out to help, like, clean and do their best with what they could do with this eyesore of or garbage bin of a house, whatever you want to call it. and we just, all we want to do is sit on the couch and watch some TV and relax, because honestly, like, I don't see my mom and my sister that much, so it's just a little family time. It's a small things, but it counts.
Yeah.
And we go to put the TV on, and the cable doesn't even work. We can't even watch TV.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned this. Like, no cable, no internet. Like,
yeah. Yep. No cable, no internet. Like, and we're just like, it just keeps getting worse. Like, there is nothing good about this house. I felt so bad because this was also my mom's like birthday week, and she was just in tears like 2 of the days, and it was so heartbreaking. I almost was
Oh my
crying.
gosh.
Yeah,
I'm
I
crying
know.
right now.
It
Jeez.
was so sad, and like she was just like breaking down to all these like the staff that came over there, and it was really sad. It was just we just got very unlucky with this house, and kind of what you were saying about like no one has been down here. We actually kind of did a little sleuthing ourselves, and what had happened, and the staff even told us this, so technically it's not even like us just thinking this, but essentially the old owner, I guess, just sold the house about a month ago, and whoever the new owner of the house is clearly didn't come down and clean up all the areas, set up the internet, and set up the cable. They just did nothing. Like, they thought it was just all okay, and pretty much just left us like out on a boat, like without a paddle or anything. Like, okay, now you guys handle it. And we kept getting so frustrated because we're like, yeah, we're the ones doing all the work now. Like, we have to clean, we have to try to get the cable to work. Like, whoever's going to rent this next, they're going to have the time of their lives, but we're here suffering.
Yeah, and that's not fair for you because what's that like? Like that's not a vacation then.
Exactly. Yes, I got very upset about that too the one day because I was trying to figure out the internet and cable because I'm the tech guy. And yeah, I was just like, I shouldn't have to be playing around with this for like an hour. Not to mention this house for some reason had a computer, which usually they don't have. But this computer was the funniest thing I saw. The monitor was probably like the size. It was less than like a foot. Like it was the tiniest monitor I've ever seen. If you put your hand up, that's like almost the size of the monitor. It was jokingly small. I don't know where they got this PC. It was also running a Windows XP, which I'm like, good God, this thing is ancient.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why they had the computer there, but it was just that made me laugh out of everything in the apartment. Or the house, and I was also worried that there were roaches living in the desktop, so I didn't want to play around with it too much. But with all that being said, and all the complaining we did, but it was justified complaining. We're not being Karens, being like, oh, there's one pea under the couch, give us a full refund. It's like, no, these are all like realistic, acceptable things, and I hope people trust me that I'm not just being crazy. Like I'm not making this up. Like it was horrible. I don't know who keeps a house like this. But anyways, they did eventually come through with us. And on Monday evening, we were transferred from our sitting Yuck to a much nicer house that we all clearly knew was probably more expensive than what we paid for. But they did right, We got there and it was a fantastic house. It had more amenities than the previous house. There was like a pool table. The pool outside was a little bit bigger and had a nice like little outside bar area. This house was way better and way nicer. We were much happier that we moved, and we really appreciated that.
Please tell me that they didn't charge you any additional money.
I'm pretty sure they didn't. I never got back to my mom on that though, because I was talking to my friend about that. But no, I'm pretty sure they didn't upcharge us
good.
because of what happened.
No, because I mean, let's just say like, regardless of them keep putting you into like a new rental house, I would have called and said like, look, this is unacceptable, and we demand, and we're getting a refund. This is like so.
That's pretty much what we were gonna do, and I think that's what really made them push to be like, okay, well, we're gonna move you to another house. And I don't know, like I forget, we were very upset about that, and we kind of all just wanted to forget about a lot of that stuff. I don't know how much my mom pushed on that and how much they might have gave her back her money. I didn't really pursue her too much on that. Well, technically it was some of our money too, but when they gave us this nicer house, though, I think it really helped, and I want to say like I'm 95% sure they didn't like upcharge us for it.
Okay, I mean, then I agree. Yeah, they did right by not charging you more and putting you into it, which sounds like a much nicer place. I mean, it's like the bar and the pool table already sound very nice. So
we were upset. Oh, and there was also in the backyard was like a volleyball court, which was nice too. But we were surprised too because, I said Monday is when we changed our houses. We got there Saturday evening. So there were 2 days where we were just still here with all our problems. And the reason that was is because initially when we said we didn't like our house, they did tell us that every other house was rented. And we're like, are you kidding me? You guys don't have any single houses available? And it did seem busier than normal down in the Outer Banks, but we just couldn't fathom that. Like, they have hundreds of houses down there. We're just like, you don't have any that we can transfer to. So it took them like 2 days. We don't know, maybe if like a family left or the people at the house we got transferred to, but
yeah, maybe
we were pretty furious about that. Like them just being like, yeah, we have like nothing to send you to. And we're like, are you kidding me? But that being said, once we switched over to this other house, the trip was nothing but bliss. We had a great time. A lot of the only thing I would complain is we generally go on this trip around May. And this year we went during September because of the coronavirus, obviously. And it being later in the year, it was a little colder, a little windier. And we also had some bad weather down there. Like 2 or 3 of the days, it was kind of cloudy and rainy, which always sucks at the beach. You know, you can't really do too much. You can't really go swimming either. So that's probably the second complaint I would have about the trip besides the disgusting house. But overall, had a really good time, you know. A lot of just nice relaxing with my girlfriend and my family. A lot of good food. I ate very well. I probably gained like 15 pounds from all the donuts and ice cream I ate.
That's the dream.
Yeah. It was a great time. And like I said, I was really happy about the like pool table and the volleyball court. I wasn't honestly. The volleyball court didn't do much for me, but my girlfriend's like, "Oh, I'd love to play volleyball or something." I'm like, "Oh, I'll give that a try." And they actually had a badminton, like the rackets and the birdie. And she's like, yo, I'm a beast at badminton. You got to play me. And I'm like, all right. And she is a beast at badminton. But I actually had a great time playing badminton. Who would have known that I like badminton? Although I did smoke her in pool, so she probably did want a little bit of redemption there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else notable. I mean, you know, we went to the beach. We went swimming. I actually didn't even get to swim at the pool at the house we got transferred to because a lot of the days were either like a little too cold or rainy or whatever. You know, it was just nice. Like, I also enjoy just like kind of, I don't know if you call it hosting or whatever, but just like making a nice dinner for everyone. And I got to do that a few nights. The grill at the house we transferred to was very nice. I made some chicken and we got some tuna steaks, which turned out really nice on the grill. Yeah, it was just a lot of good eating, a lot of relaxing. You know, they actually had internet and TV at the other house, you know, like you'd think a normal house should.
Yeah.
And it was nice watching, you know, movies and shows with my family as well. We also played a bunch of like board games and card games like that. Overall, had a very good time once we moved from the one house. There were some activities I didn't really get to do just because of the bad weather. Like, I would have liked to go mini golfing. Me and my girlfriend and my sister might have wanted, or we were planning on going kayaking one of the days. That fell through. But yeah, I overall had a really good time.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. I mean, again, I'm sorry about the first 2 days, but I'm happy it all worked out in the end.
Yes, it did. Thank you. But other than that, so that's why we were one of the major reasons I was going. We literally had no internet, couldn't record the podcast on Monday or whatever. But then also when I came back last Saturday, well, technically this was yesterday that I did this, but me and Megan, we went apple picking. You know, 'tis fall. Fall is just pretty much here now. And what better thing to do in fall than go to a nice orchard and get yourself some apples off the trees. And we did that yesterday, and it was quite nice. I really like just, you know, looking at all the different types of apples, and, you know, you can actually just take one off and try it and be like, oh, I actually really like Empire apples. Who would have known? And then you can take a little bit of those, and then you can go take a little bit of the Gala, and you can go take a little bit of the Honeycrisp or the Golden Delicious, whatever. It's nice having all the different varieties. And also at the apple orchard we went to, they have pumpkins as well. So we got to like walk around the pumpkin patch, and we're probably going to carve pumpkins at some point. We usually do that. I think we were talking about that on the last podcast, but we didn't get our carving pumpkins yet. We just got some little decorative, like small pumpkins and gourds and stuff like that. But it was a really nice like day yesterday too here where we live. So it was like 70 or whatever. It was like kind of cool but sunny out, like literally not a cloud in the sky. So we had a really nice time doing that.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I do remember you talking about going to like not the apple orchard, the pumpkin picking or pumpkin carving. Yeah, I've never done it before, but I would like to try that this year.
Yeah, we're probably gonna do that in the next few weeks. We would love to do. I'm a big fan of like Halloween, so I'm like getting pumped. Like maybe we'll play a scary game or two together. I'd like to watch more horror movies. We usually like to do the haunted houses, but we're probably not going to get to do that this year. So want to try to just do as much of the like outside activities as possible. But that's enough about me, Mike. What have you been doing for the past 2 weeks?
Where to begin? So I mean, we'll definitely talk about some of the games I've been playing later, but two big things did happen. One thing was I actually had a really, really good week in the collectible market. I had a couple of really big sales. One of which was one of my first edition Charizards. I kind of like came to the conclusion that I think it's time to sell one of them because I actually have a video about this on my on YouTube that I feel right now. Certain cards, I don't think they're overpriced, but I think they're right near like a plateau point.
Okay.
Where I really didn't think they'd be going up any higher, but they surprisingly still are. But I did actually sell one of my graded Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It's actually an original Legend of Blue Eyes Man-Eater Bug, so that was a nice little sale. That was actually one of the ones I found in a shoebox, believe it or not.
I saw that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the biggest one that was the Charizard. So that sold. It was a PSA 5, and it sold for a lot more than I was expecting. So,
hey,
yeah,
I don't like.
Yeah, big time plus. I mean, I don't want to kiss and tell, but it was definitely a very profitable sale. So I'm very happy about that. I still have to pack it up and sell it, or to ship it. I needed to get a certain box to pack it up, so I got some boxes at work. So tonight I'm probably going to pack it up and ship it out.
Well, Mike, maybe you can use some of that money for dog food. Wink.
No, why do I need that?
Isn't that your favorite type of food?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Right next to meatball pizza.
Yeah. Meatball pizza flavored dog food is my favorite. But yeah, the other big thing was last week, Amanda and I did get our first puppy. And what can I say? He's the best. His name is Leonardo, or we call him Leo. And he's a little border collie beagle mix. And I mean, I have to admit, the first couple of days were pretty crazy because he's a puppy, still learning things. We immediately had to start potty training him, which drove me bananas. But I will admit, he's learned very quickly. He's doing really good. Like besides like an accident here and there, he actually knows like when and where. Like he knows when and where to go to the bathroom, so that's going really well. The other big struggle was if we leave the house for work, he cries and he howls and barks. But it was on Wednesday when Amanda and I first had to work together at the same day, so no one was home for like 7 hours. And the kitchen, which is where we kept him, like we kind of put up like a baby gate to block him in, and the kitchen was a wreck. It was bad.
Oh,
it was like a scene from a Saw movie. I mean, it was really bad. So that took some time cleaning up, and then I had to prepare myself for the next day. And Thursday wasn't as bad, and then the same happened on Friday. But on Friday, he actually was really good. We put down the little pee pads, and he only went on the pads. There was no mess anywhere else. He didn't like knock things over. Like he made an incredible improvement over the last couple of days. And then even over the weekend, the only thing I would say we have to improve on now over the weekend is his biting. He likes to bite, which I don't like. Like it's funny. You wouldn't think so, but him being a puppy, his little puppy teeth are sharp.
Oh yeah,
they are needles.
Yeah.
But
my cat Stu, he'll just nibble on like your finger here or there, and if he gets your finger in the back of his like jaws, it's like ow.
Yeah, it gets you. And the thing with Leo doesn't bite your hand. Well, he will bite your hand if you're playing with him, but he'll just go and attack your feet, and that's the one thing I want to improve, help improve him with, because he just keeps, I'm pretty sure he just thinks you're playing, all the time because he always goes for my feet. Like, and it does get kind of annoying because again, it hurts. Like when he gets like when he bites your toes or bites at your heel, like it hurts. And I hate yelling at him, and I'm never gonna obviously hit the dog, but I'll have to raise my voice and grab the back of his neck to make it seem like hey, stop doing that. That's bad. All that stuff, and he. Not only does he go for my feet, but he goes for my socks. Like that. Like, why bother spending all this money on toys, like dog toys? Just give him my old sock, and he would have the time of his life.
Yep. That's how it is with cats too. One of my cat's favorite toys is like the top of a bottle of water, like the cap. They just love that. Like,
right. It was funny that too. Like, I actually want to get one of my old socks and just get like an empty bottle of water. And because like the sound that makes, so that crumpling sound, the dog loves it. So I should just put that in a sock, and then that's like his new toy. I'm sure he'll absolutely love it.
It's funny because I've actually listened to this podcast where someone else also just got like a brand new puppy, so he's like going through the process of teaching it, and he said that it is important when the puppy bites you to like make a noise to let it know that hurts. So even though it's comical, you should go like "ow" to let it be like, "Oh, that's not okay." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to sound like too dramatic, but I will like raise my voice. Just be like, "Hey, like stop that!" Like, like that's bad. Just to let him know, like, or I guess even to like scare him, like, don't do that. You're gonna get me mad. So I think eventually he'll learn. And the other thing I have to do is I think I have to just play with him so much that I just exhaust him. So he goes to bed. He has so much energy. It's like hysterical.
Plenty of walks too.
Yeah, walks are the next thing because he hasn't really been going on walks. But then just yesterday we took him for a walk and he actually did really well. That was like his first successful walk around the neighborhood.
Nice.
Yeah, but we do have to keep doing that. That's like the next step.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Well, thank you.
He's a cutie.
Yeah, he is something else. Like people love him. Like even like whenever we take him anywhere, like to restaurants or like Amanda was home today and she took him shopping with her, which kind of shocked me. Like it's funny. There actually are some pictures on Instagram and like he's in like the stroller in like his little like doggy seat, and Amanda said everybody was just like adoring him and like just coming over asking to pet him. So yeah, he's a. Hey, if I wasn't with like just hypothetically, if I wasn't with Amanda, he would be a babe magnet. Girls would love him.
Hang on, are you telling me you have a dog stroller?
No, it's not a dog stroller. Amanda took like a shopping cart, and she took the doggy seat that we have in our car and put that in the stroller. Okay. I mean, it might as well be a doggy stroller. It became a doggy stroller.
Look, no shame if you do have the doggy stroller. Because you can shame me, because I didn't pick this. It was a gift from my girlfriend's mom, but we do have a animal stroller, and we have taken Stu out for walks before. And I feel ridiculous doing it, but yeah, people love it. Everyone comes over and they're like, oh,
what's his name again? Hey, no shame. I hear you.
They've even put the guinea pigs in there. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's a bit of a stretch, but okay.
I'll just wait here for you guys to come back from your walk. Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, so Leo's awesome. We love him very much, and he's been a handful for the last like week and a half. But yeah.
Keep him away from the cardboard.
Oh, he's been in my office before, but he's been very good. Granted, I would never let him in here by himself. Yeah, then I don't trust him. But I mean, if he sits here on the floor with me, he's quite okay. I actually was going to let him take a bite out of that Charizard because it's graded. Because I don't care if you. But I'm being like, God, with my luck, he's going to somehow crack the case and ruin the card. So no, thank you. But yeah, that was my week.
Yeah. With that being said, I think we can move on to the beginning of the podcast.
Alrighty.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Level With Me podcast, episode 65. I am one of your hosts, Corey, a.k.a. Game Bro Corey, and I am here once again with my co-host, Mike, a.k.a. The Collector's Vault. How you doing, Mike?
Doing pretty good, Corey. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Level With Me. I have my Yingling lager with me, and I'm ready to talk about some gaming news because a lot has happened the last 2 weeks.
Oh, yes, it has.
Yeah, I was kind of like containing my excitement, but like, 'cause as much as I wanted to hear about Corey's vacation and talk about my new puppy, man, a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks in the gaming world. So I'm sure Corey and I are both ready to geek out and just talk about this stuff.
Yes, quite a bit has been announced. Also, with you, I'll say I have my spiked apple cider to keep in fall theme. You know, a little cider, little Canadian whiskey. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But before we get right into video game news, I have two like nerdy related stories that we can kind of just talk about. I don't have like a news article that we can look at, but hey, Disney Plus Disney came out, and you know Disney Plus subscriptions, it's almost time to renew them. And like many people, I questioned, why do I still have Disney Plus? And Disney said, hey, don't worry, fam. Mandalorian season 2 end of October, and WandaVision later in 2020. Both new trailers that came out, and I'm very excited for both. The Mandalorian season 2 trailer included a lot of like new planets. One looked like Hoth. That's the snow planet, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There is a snow planet. I don't know if it's Hoth, but I was very excited for that one. I really love The Mandalorian. WandaVision,
I'm so pumped.
WandaVision, I don't know how to feel about that. I'm probably going to watch it because I do like the MCU, but I don't know if it's going to be good. Like I just kind of don't know what to expect from that show, I guess.
I don't think I know much about WandaVision.
Here, let me send you a little trailer here then. I don't know when it takes place, if it's before... from what I interpreted from the trailer, it might be like the time before, like in Infinity War, where like they kind of show Wanda and Vision living together. So it might kind of be like somewhere in between there, or maybe it has something to do with after that. I don't know, or whatever happened after, like, you know, what happened in Endgame. I have no idea either. I don't know. I was
going to say, like, is this going to be like a parody? I mean,
no, but there is a lot of interesting takes on it. In the trailer, literally, Wanda and Vision have like costumes of their classic outfits, like the comic book ones, not their like, you know, modernized MCU versions. But it looks interesting. Personally, me more excited for The Mandalorian. I'm a Star Wars nerd.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I like Marvel, but I'm definitely not as big of a Marvel fan. Mandalorian, that has my full attention for the upcoming months.
Yes, and I want to see more with, you know, all the characters, especially with that little like tease of how the first season ends. I'm curious about that main villain.
Oh my gosh, Moff. God, what's his name? Moff Gideon. I am so curious. I wanted to go look and do some like delving into like maybe like some weird Star Wars backstory that like, because you know, like Rebels actually took some characters from the extended Star Wars universe that's like no longer canon, and then they
you're right.
I think like Grand Admiral Thrawn, like he, you know, was technically fictional, but then they made him canon, which is pretty cool. So I was wondering, like, is Moff Gideon like is somewhere else, like in that like Star Wars extended universe from those like random comic books? And I said to myself, I just want to like let the show go on. I'm not gonna like try to spoil anything. The main thing I want to see is, why does he have a dark saber? That's the biggest thing I want to know. You know, like, why does he have that?
Yeah. And they've been doing a lot of that stuff, like even in the Rise of Skywalker and that like Sith temple, there's like the one character from the Old Republic video games, like the main villain or the main Sith villain. So they have some of those ties, the like what they classify as canon expanded universe.
Yeah. Well, I think I want to say that from the Knights of the Old Republic, what is technically canon, I think. I mean, it happened like so many hundred years ago, so I think that's why, like, it's, you know, it's not really like conflicting.
That's true.
The modern Star Wars stuff. And I really don't want to talk about the newer movies.
Yeah, we won't get too into it. Let's just get into video games. This is the #1 video game podcast in the world, and
absolutely,
like you stated, over the past 2 weeks, there have been many big video game explosion announcements. A lot of wows, a lot of jaw-dropping moments. Let's start off with some Microsoft news here. So right off the gate, Xbox Series S price, design release date confirmed. Xbox Series X release date and price also confirmed. Let me find the actual release date. So the prices for the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. The Series S is the one without the disc drive, like the all digital one. The Series S will be $299 USD, and then the Series X will be $499 USD, which, in my opinion, fair. Oh, here's the release date. They both come out on November 10th, 2020.
Interesting.
Yes, I mean, I don't have much to say on this. I good for Microsoft. They, I mean, especially with the following story here, I think this is going to be a very interesting console generation.
Oh yeah.
I personally, I mean, we're going to talk about it later too, but the PS5 also $499.99 for, or $499 for the regular one with the disc tray, and then the $399 for the discless digital one. Yeah, I think personally all those prices are fine. I don't think they're overpriced. I don't think they're underpriced. I think $500 seems fair for the what I would consider a standard version, and then the digital one just being like, well, $200 less in Microsoft's case and $100 less in Sony's. I think that's fair.
It's funny because a lot of people are immediately complaining, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in the next couple articles about, like, right now the big competition between Microsoft and Sony. And I have to say, like, see, right now Sony just didn't really have a lot to worry about because ultimately they were the better. I'm just saying this from like a very unbiased perspective. They were the better console.
Right.
Like last generation proved
they won this.
They won
generation.
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like them having the higher price point, like they've earned it. Like, I'm sorry, like, hey, we have the games, we have the IPs, we have the record to be like, yeah, we can charge it whatever we want, and you're going to pay for it. So Xbox probably knows, okay, well, to compete with these guys, not only do we have to be like more fair to our consumer base. I'm sure this next article right here is going to explain their next tactical move, which I think is surprisingly well planned and timed.
Yeah, very wild. And this news literally came today. Before we get onto that, though, I do just want to quickly comment on the Xbox Series S, because that was revealed like 2 weeks ago, like the design of it. Basically, it's like if you took the Series X, that's kind of like the fridge, and you chop it in half, and you made it white and put that big, like, black, it almost looks like a speaker.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't look like a speaker.
I kind of like it. It kind of reminds me of the Wii, you know?
Yeah, a little bit.
Also, I think it's just a really good deal. Like, if you are a gamer or want to just like get into video games in general and you don't want to spend like too much money, I think an Xbox Series S might be a great starting point, especially for this new generation.
Yeah, I mean, like $299, like technically $299
as much as a Switch.
It lasts. Wasn't the Switch? No. The Wii U is $350. The Switch was $300. Yeah, so basically, it's very, very fairly priced. Yes, you can't use physical games, but I mean, I think that's just like that sad, obvious truth that they're trying to slowly move to that,
digital future.
Yeah, which I don't like, but yeah, I definitely agree with your statement that for people who want to get into gaming, that's a very, very good console at a very good price.
Not to mention with Microsoft services like Game Pass and with this news that we're going to talk about next, like, you're going to have a lot of good games to play on an Xbox,
Yeah, I didn't even think about Game Pass. Yeah, that's a big plus.
But the story we're talking about literally happened hours ago today. Microsoft, not to buy, but bought Bethesda and parent company ZeniMax Media. That is all of Bethesda's pretty much properties. That includes id, that includes, I forget, there was a big list here. It's in the article here. Bethesda game, or the whole Bethesda Softworks, Bethesda Game Studios, id Software, ZeniMax Online Studios, Arcane, Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog, and Roundhouse Studios. And I believe this acquisition, was for $7.5 billion.
Oof. And I thought my Charizard was a good sale. Man.
But yeah, this is wild. I can't even fathom what this is going to look like in the future. People are already saying, well, does that mean like the next Elder Scrolls game or Fallout game might be Microsoft exclusive or, Xbox exclusive, whatever you're going to call it? I don't know. My hands are up in the air. I don't know.
I think yes. I think it's, as much as people probably think, oh, it's better for them to make the games more accessible. Like Bethesda should want their games to be on all platforms, or at least on the two big ones. Maybe even PC. But it's probably in Microsoft's best interest to keep these as exclusives, because that's what they need right now. They need exclusives. I mean, I know we've whined and complained about the Xbox before, where like they bought, like years ago, they bought all these big studios, and it's like, but what do you have to show? What do you have to show for it? You know? So, I mean, at least by saying, "Hey, we own Bethesda," and it's like, okay, so then you own the Elder Scrolls, Doom, Wolfenstein. I'm missing another big one, Fallout. Like those are big named IPs. That's big.
Absolutely, yeah. And the article goes out to talk about too how, it's kind of ironic because both Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo are these kind of big, like, new IPs coming out of Bethesda, and they're actually both, like, PlayStation exclusives, and they probably will still remain there unless they're only timed exclusives. I don't know. But, it's just kind of funny that they're being published as exclusives, but now Microsoft owns Bethesda. And I believe people were even bringing up that, those might be the last Bethesda games on the on like the PlayStation market or consoles, I guess. And even Doom Eternal, when it gets ported on the Switch, might be the last Bethesda games on the Switch too. We don't know though. I'm not saying as a end all, but we don't know, which is the crazy thing.
Yeah, he was funny. I was talking about this at work with my coworkers. I think that if anything, Microsoft and Nintendo have become more buddy-buddy over the years, so I can see them sharing some of their content, kind of like with how we learned it. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything because I don't know for sure. This might be an article, but Nintendo's getting Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which is
absolutely.
So it's like,
they have it already. You can go buy it now.
Yeah, so like they're willing to share that with Nintendo, and sharing Banjo and Kazooie and Smash Bros. Like, so they're willing to do that. So I wonder, like, with this acquisition of these big studios, I have a feeling that they're doing this mainly to compete with PS, with Sony. I don't really think it's them to be like, oh, and so now Fallout, when that, like, for example, Doom Eternal was going to be, ported to the Switch. I don't think this means, oh, guess what, Nintendo's never getting a port anymore of any of these games. I think the biggest thing that they want to keep away is Sony. Like, although technically Nintendo is a direct competitor with these guys, I feel like they're more threatened by Sony because they're the ones that have the big multi-plat games.
Yeah.
So that's my little theory.
And I could even see maybe they just do like, oh, hey, you can play Fallout 5 or Elder Scrolls 6 first on Xbox. Like maybe it's just a year exclusive or something crazy like that, because that does still happen, which kind of sucks. Happened with.
It's funny. Wasn't that with like a Final Fantasy game where it was like a timed exclusive?
I think the Final Fantasy 15 was. I know on Xbox, Tomb Raider was like always a year before it came to everywhere else. Like they got the rights from Square or whoever develops. I forget the team who does the new Tomb Raider, but that was one for them as well. Funny you mention all these games that all, our next article here, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy. But yes, that's we might have more Microsoft news, but that's the main bit of Microsoft. But also this week, both big dogs came out and said, hey, this is when our new consoles come out, and this is how much they cost. So that their Sony or PlayStation, they had a big reveal event a few days ago, and they showcased a bunch of new games coming out on the PS5, as well as, like I said, announced the release date and the price. So, if you guys didn't hear me before, the disc drive PlayStation 5 will be $499.99 USD, and then the digital edition will be $399.99, so $100 less. And I believe the release date is also sometime in November. I think it's the 13th. Let me see if I can find it in this article. It's very close to when the Xbox Series S comes out. Oh, it looks like it's November 12th. Oh, no, wait. Let me check here. Yeah, November 12th. So literally like a few days afterwards. But this event was actually had a lot of cool, well, honestly, it didn't really have too many big announcements. It kind of had like a lot of rumored stuff and then just some updates on other games. but still really cool announcements. Obviously, we just were talking about Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 16 was revealed. I think it looks awesome. They are definitely straying away from the turn-based aspect of it. This game looks all action, something similar to like a Dark Souls or a Devil May Cry with that like behind-the-back action game perspective. I'm really excited for it. It looks cool. It's also got more of this like medieval fantasy vibe going on. It's not kind of like a futuristic thing or something, which I also appreciate. And I believe that will be a console exclusive. Yes, it will be.
I can see that. I think it's cool that they're going back to the old like medieval style, because that's how Final Fantasy was up until 7. 7 was the first one to be like modern or be contemporary, you know? So
I'm excited for that. That looks really cool. They also showed some more gameplay for Spider-Man Miles Morales. That's looking great. I don't think they gave a release date for that, but it's going to be like, this year sometime. Probably either like late November or early December. Another long-rumored game, Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy. Very happy to see this announced. Basically, this is a action RPG set in the Harry Potter world. It takes place like before all the movies, though, so you're not really going to interact with that. You're basically just interacting with the world of Hogwarts, and you basically enroll in Hogwarts, and you go from there. You can pick what kind of spells you want to learn. Maybe you can brew potions. I don't know. Not a lot of the aspects of it were revealed yet, but it looks great, and it's going to come out by next year. I'm very excited for this.
Very nice.
Let me see if there was anything else specifically interesting in here. There's some more gameplay for Resident Evil 8. Looking great. I'm also very excited for that. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, also long rumored. That just makes sense. They're adding, you can play as like Virgil, and I think there's also like some other new features added to it. I'm not too familiar with Devil May Cry. A new Five Nights at Freddy's game. That actually looked pretty neat.
Oh, yeah, that was really shocking. I mean, I think it's great that Five Nights at Freddy's has now made it to like consoles. That's a big step for them. But I can't. It's funny because I was actually a really big fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. Like I was following the games and the story, so I'm kind of curious what this is, because the story. I still think the story was kind of confusing, but I thought they were kind of like over with. Like I thought it was completed and concluded. So I'm pretty pumped that this is probably going to be like more lore, or are they going to be continuing the story? Is it a prequel? I'm pretty pumped for this, because obviously the visuals are much more impressive than what they used to be on the PC. Were you ever a fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's games?
Yeah, funny enough, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, I've never played any of these games, but I do also enjoy the like lore and story elements of these games. So every like few months I go down a Five Nights at Freddy's rabbit hole. I actually did one a few months ago where I caught up on all the like books that they released and like all these other like little games they released, like just little extra tidbits. And I did see this game was being like rumored or teased, but I didn't realize like that it was going to look how it looks. Like this is a full like 3D, what I assume is going to be like you just explore this. I think it's set in like a mall, and there's like this big Freddy Fazbear, like it's almost like 80s themed, like these characters, they have like these armor sets and stuff like that, but I think it's like a big area you explore, like it's almost like an open world type experience from what I understand. But yeah, I'm actually excited in this, and this might be like the first Five Nights at Freddy game I play, because it's probably not going to be, I wouldn't say, I just like, I think the thing about Five Nights at Freddy's is the gameplay doesn't look interesting to me, but this looks, I'm very interested in this. Yeah,
the gameplay initially was very like, it was just for the sake of getting a good scare. Like it's meant to scare you.
Yeah.
So if you're not into horror games, this game is not for you. Like the game series is not for you. But I was like all about it. Like I was like super into the these horror games, and so like I was even from the beginning. Like when we were like living in Reading together. Like that's when I first heard about Five Nights at Freddy's, and I was getting into it, and man, it like captivated me. So
me too.
Yeah, and I did play all the games, so that's why I'm like really, really looking forward to playing this out and seeing like what is this new gameplay that year. I had no idea that there was gonna be new gameplay. I didn't know it was gonna be like in a open
Yeah,
world style game.
I think it's going to be a completely new type of game. Like, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Next up here, they showed some more gameplay of that Demon Souls remake. I'm very excited for that as a Souls fan. That's also going to be a launch game for the PS5, which is very exciting. They also showed, this is actually pretty neat, the PlayStation Plus Collection. So this is a new service that I think is going to be included with PlayStation Plus. And basically what this is they're taking some of the best hits from PlayStation 4 and just having like I would say this is kind of their Game Pass, but not necessarily. I don't think there's going to be new games on here, like day and date. But this is like a lot of the essential titles from the PlayStation 4 library that you can play on your new consoles. And people kind of speculated maybe this is for people who are going to get that all-digital version of the PS5 and never bought a PS4. Because in the PlayStation Plus collection, they've already announced like The Last of Us Remastered. I believe the new God of War was in there, Bloodborne, like pretty much all the first-party titles that you could think of. And there's even some other like little third-party stuff in there. I think Fallout 4 was in there. And, you know, I think this is actually a really neat deal because you're essentially just getting a bunch of games like included with your PlayStation Plus. And they're all like, you know, full AAA games.
I hear you. Yeah.
All I was going to say last is they also teased the sequel to that new God of War game, which will be titled, or I guess it's titled right now as God of War Ragnarok, and that should be coming out also next year. And I'm very excited for that. I really enjoyed the new Dad of War game, if you will.
Bod of War.
Overall, a very good showing for Sony. I wouldn't say there was anything that really blew my socks off because, like I said, a lot of these like games have been rumored, like Final Fantasy 16 and the Harry Potter game. But I'm just glad to see it all in motion.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very exciting time of the year because we kind of missed out on E3, so this is kind of like I don't want to compare it to E3, but like we're getting all this great gaming news that we've been looking forward to for the last like half a year. You know?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and like this was a good announcement. The newest Nintendo Direct, granted it was a partner Direct, was very good. Even this Ubisoft event was actually pretty cool. Yeah, there've been a lot of like good video game conferences over the past few weeks. Speaking of the Ubisoft announcement, they had a forward, which is kind of like their Direct, if you will. And hey, it turns out that Prince of Persia remake is real. Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake will be coming out early next year, 2021. I believe this will be on the previous gen, so like PS4 and Xbox One and the PS5 and Series X. And I don't know if it's on. I don't think it's on Switch. But that looks pretty cool. I've actually never played any of the Prince of Persia games.
Yeah, I can't say I played them either, but I remember when I was young, like one or two of them, and they had a good little fan base. I think it's a really cool aesthetic, like Arabian Nights and everything. So that's pretty cool.
I agree. Next up, this was kind of big. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the Game Complete Edition. I can't tell you how long people have been wanting this game back. It came out years ago on the Xbox Live Arcade, and it's like a really good beat 'em up. I've never played it, but it is very nice to actually see, hey, this thing's coming back, and it's also going to be on everything, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and Stadia, oddly enough. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I actually would like to maybe pick this up and play it.
It's funny, like I never even knew what Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was for the longest time. It was only like a couple years ago that I first learned about the game, or about this. Is it a game series, or is it just one game?
It's just one game. Basically, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was based on like a comic series, and this like kind of just wraps up the whole series because it's over. It was like a small run.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Next up. Immortals Phoenix Rising, that was previously known as Gods and Monsters, got its first official re-reveal, and they announced when it's going to be coming out, which is later this year, December 3rd, 2020.
Nice.
Did you happen to watch any like trailers or gameplay of this, Mike?
No, but I might actually take a look. Whoops, I might take a look right now while we're talking just to see if I can get some. I think I did see a couple images. I didn't see any trailers though, like actual trailers. It was just some of the pictures and stuff, or the still shots.
Okay, all right. No problem. I just want to say that for those of y'all who remember seeing Gods and Monsters, it was very obviously that they were going for like a Breath of the Wild type game.
Yeah.
And you can see now with their new title, and they kind of changed the engine up a little bit, so it's not as like cartoony, I would say. So it kind of has its own visual style. But when you just watch the gameplay, you can clearly see that it is very much going for that kind of like Breath of the Wild style gameplay.
I do like it. It's kind of like a bit of cell shading, like, and I think it's a beautiful style. Like I love it. Like right now, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this little teaser, and I think the game looks gorgeous. You know, like it doesn't have to look realistic. This is just amazing.
And go ahead.
Did you know that there was apparently like a lawsuit, and that's why they had to change their name?
I heard about that. Yes. The Monster Energy drink or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Monster Energy drink. Like, you can't use the word
super
monster.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how. Who makes Monster Hunter? Capcom or Bandai Namco? Who makes
Capcom.
That? Capcom. I'm sure they're probably like pulling like their neck, like their shirt collars. Like, oh no, we're next because we have Monster now.
They're pretty big. I don't know if they'll win that war. But yes, I'm actually very excited for this, and I mean, I hate to say it, but I've seen some gameplay that it's blatantly like a Legend of Zelda, or excuse me, a Breath of the Wild, like, you know, the rune abilities or whatever they were called, you know, like magnet hands, and apparently they're like the chalice dungeon type things, or
like the shrines.
That's what I meant. Yeah, excuse me. So I mean I'm pretty excited for this. I very much want to play this. As we continue here, Riders Republic. This was a weird one. The best I can describe this as is it kind of looks like a battle royale game, but instead of like actually fighting anyone, you're racing with either a bike, snowboard, or like wingsuits. It's very odd. It wasn't for me, but I was just like, okay, that's a new thing. Other than that, is there anything else really? Nah, I don't think there's really anything here that we need to talk about. Yeah, it was okay. The Ubisoft announcement thing. Let me get our next story here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do like Ubisoft, so it's fun stuff.
Yeah. Next up here, this is a rumor. Mass Effect Trilogy Remastered retail listings appear for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. I want this to happen so bad. I have never played any of these games.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about. Well, I heard Mass Effect 3 has some issues, but I heard like the trilogy as a whole is incredible. Like, people love the game and how it and like how you play one after the other, follows one whole big story. So I might delve into this if I had. I mean, hey, like, why not? All three games together. Like, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah, that's a lot of content. Also, really cool that it is listed for Switch. I would love to see that. Next up here, speaking of very old games, the Last Stand update is Left 4 Dead 2's first major DLC in 8 years. Left 4 Dead 2 is getting its first update in 8 years later this month with the Last Stand update, a new content pack developed by members of the dedicated Left 4 Dead community for the community. IGN got a chance to speak with the team behind the update to find out more about how this community effort became an official update to Left 4 Dead 2, sanctioned by Valve. The Last Stand update for Left 4 Dead 2 began when the project lead, who goes by Rayman 1103 in the Left 4 Dead community, reached out to Valve's Kerry Davis back in October 2019 about a potential 10th anniversary update for Left 4 Dead 2. Let me get to the actual main new features. I'm not going to go over the whole, like, why they wanted to update or whatnot. Anyways, but the Last Stand update, as it will be released next week, will include far more. The full update list includes the Last Stand campaign, 30 brand new achievements, 26 new survival maps, 4 new scavenge maps, 2 new melee weapons, Left 4 Dead 1 infected skins with functional gore, New and unused survivor voice lines, new and improved character animations, reworked gun models and animations, PvP enhancements and balance updates, official CSS weapon implementation, brand new mutations, Rocket Dude, and Tank Run. I mean, that's super cool. I'm a big fan of Left 4 Dead 2. I might boot up my Steam edition of Left 4 Dead 2 and check this out.
Yeah, man, me too. I mean, I have my brother's old 360 version, but I might have to download it on Steam myself.
It's
and just
dirt cheap on Steam. You can,
Yeah, I can't see no of that because I think we talked about this in either the last podcast or 2 podcasts ago. But yeah, it's like one of the best zombie games that I've played in like forever. So I'm pretty pumped that they're bringing all this new content to Left 4 Dead.
It really is. Yeah, I think it's awesome. And now, for the last chunk of news, here at Level With Me, we always like to leave all the Nintendo news for the end, because we're Nintendo simps. And first of all, rest in peace, Nintendo 3DS. The production has ended after 9 years. A little late, or it really kept going there, you know, with the Switch being in full stride. You thought they would have done this a little bit earlier. I mean, they did have
you would think, but
they did have a bunch of games on that thing, and I'm sure they were still selling well. I mean, I don't know numbers off the top of my head, but yeah, they're gonna end later this year. Makes sense though. I mean, the Switch is killing it.
Yeah, I think the 3DS has had a very nice long. Like 9 years is pretty long for a game cycle, you know, or a life cycle, I guess. So it brought a lot of joy to our lives. It had a lot of great games, even up until like just last year. It had a lot of great games still. So hey, I'm happy it's going out with a bang on a good note, you know.
What was like your favorite game for the 3DS?
Man, that's tough because I didn't have a lot. I liked, gosh, see, I definitely haven't played as many 3DS games as some other people, but I did like Luigi's Mansion 2, Dark Moon. That was a fun little treat for that console.
That's a good one.
Then I remember I did get into Pokemon X and Y. That was really fun to play on, like the very first like 3D Pokemon game. That was really cool for the 3DS. And then, I did see again. I'm just naming all the like my favorite games. I never actually owned Ocarina of Time, so I got the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time, which was awesome. And also, the 3DS was graced with a Metroid game, and I loved Metroid Samus Returns on the 3DS. So I definitely had some games that I put a lot of hours into. How about you, Corey? What's your favorite?
If I had to pick one, I honestly had a 3DS very early in its life cycle. I wish I kept it. I would have loved to play Link Between Worlds because I heard that's a fantastic Zelda game.
Yeah, that's on my to-do list. That's on my game list. I have to get that.
Yeah, there are many games that came out later that I would have loved. I never even got to play Pokemon X and Y. I would have loved to. But for me personally, my favorite 3DS game was Kid Icarus Uprising. There was just so much like the story and the characters were so well like written. I thought the gameplay was a lot of fun. Granted, it was horrible to control on the 3DS, but it was a lot of fun. I hope they don't let that property go to the side. I think that's a fantastic IP, and I would love to see a new iteration of that on the Switch, or even if they just like remastered it or something, because I thought that game was fantastic.
Yeah, it's funny. A little tangent here. I think Sakurai actually helped produce that game.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've heard like the controls maybe, but I've heard like so many good things about that game. Like how much love and care went into it, and kind of like as you said, like it's like an IP. Like Kid Icarus is an IP where it's like, man, why don't they like put more not effort, like just put more time into making more games for it? Because I think it could be great if they gave it like a Switch title.
It was like really well written too. Like it was really funny, honestly.
Yeah, like I heard the writing was good. I heard even visually the game was incredible for a 3DS title. Oh my gosh!
And it had like multiplayer that was actually pretty fun, and it had a lot of replay value because you'd want to get like better weapons. It almost had like a Diablo or Borderlands type thing where you wanted to get like, you know, the best weapon or whatever. It was fun. It was a really good game.
It is kind of a shame that Kid Icarus. Again, that was like Kid Icarus is actually a very old title that was like brought back to life when Brawl came around and people learned who Pit was. But I think it's definitely a game series that, man, like if they gave it another shot and like I mean, I'm not sure if they're gonna get it, but man, if that can get like a nice Switch title, like I think it can captivate some audiences. I really think so.
I do too.
I think the same thing for F-Zero, but I think that's in a deeper grave than Metroid.
Fingers crossed for both.
Yeah,
I'll take either, honestly.
Hey, I mean, I'm probably. It's funny. Again, one more tangent. I remember, like, I think it was Arlo. I mean, had a nice little video talking about like how, like, 15 years ago, like Nintendo just made games, and that's such a true statement. Like they just made games. I don't care. Like, they didn't care what the IP was. Every single year there was just new games. Like there was Donkey Kong games being made. There was technically F-Zero was getting games. Metroid had how many games? Like Zelda could have, every IP just got so many games, and it was even like the random IPs were getting games. I mean, Earthbound got a sequel in Japan. We never got, but even they got a game back like 15 years ago. Like it kind of makes you laugh. Like man, like I miss those days where Nintendo would just make games as opposed to us like waiting to get any news. And this is obviously even before 2020 and the whole quarantine thing. Like I do miss those days where Nintendo would just make games, even for like the random IPs. It just who cares? Like yes, let's make a new Kirby game. Let's make a new Kid Icarus game. Let's make a new F-Zero game. Make a new Star Fox game. Like let's just keep making new games. I miss those days.
I 100% agree. And interestingly enough, I wonder if the only reason Nintendo isn't doing that as much is because now that we have the Switch, I can't tell you how many games I'm thinking right now that have been like remastered or ported, whatever we want to call it, to the Switch. So it can almost like kind of hang with like these new consoles. Well, technically not the ones coming out, but the current gen. So maybe like Nintendo kind of is like, well, we can have the other guys like put out their games and kind of work diligently on our games. But you did also have a point with the, coronavirus definitely slowed down a lot of stuff. But yeah, I do agree with what you were talking about. Arlo was saying where, yeah, it just does kind of seem like it's a lot of Mario and Zelda. And then like there'll occasionally be one like outlier, like, oh, they'll make a Kirby game or something like that. Or, Pokemon also is doing very well. Yeah. But yeah, I wish Nintendo would really like use all their IPs because a lot of fans really do love all these like unique different IPs.
Yeah, like just look at just look at the Smash Brothers cast, and it makes you think like, man, like why are we getting like yes, we did get a Yoshi game, and yes, we did get a Fire Emblem game, but like what I'm saying, there's just so many other characters and IPs. It's like, man, why aren't we getting a game for these guys? But who knows?
Speaking of a character I would love to see in Smash Brothers.
I was about to say the same thing.
No More Heroes 3 delayed to 2021. Very sad news, but, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it's caused unforeseen delays in development. It's understandable. And, we always make the comment, a delayed game is forever good or whatever delay it as long as you want. As long as just make it whatever vision or make it work however you want, it's fine. Suda, I'll play something else.
Yeah, I agree. And just the fact that they're being transparent, saying, "Yeah, guys, sorry, it's going to take a little bit longer." Like that. Hey, that's fine. Put it back in the oven. Keep working on it. Just let us know how it's coming along. So that's all I can ask.
I agree. Next up here, another little light story. But they finally Nintendo did the same thing Disney did, and they're like, okay, why do people want to subscribe to our online service? Oh, right, for the classic games, right? So they added some more games to the lineup. They added Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest, Mario's Super Picross, and the Peacekeepers to the SNES lineup. And then for the NES, we have SCAT, Special Cybernetic Attack Team, not some sort of thing you would search on the internet, you naughty boys and girls.
What were you thinking of, you listeners?
I'm gonna say is I don't know anything about any of those two other games I said. I know, isn't Donkey Kong Country 2 the best one?
In my personal opinion, I love number 3 too, but yeah, I will admit that Donkey Kong Country 2 is like considered to be 2D platformers ever created. So that's pretty cool that they are. I mean, I don't know why it took so long, but yeah. So this is that's one of the best Super NES games you're going to get out there coming finally to this Nintendo Switch Online. So.
And I've never played a Picross game, but I know that Mario Super Picross is. I've heard it's a good game.
I've never heard of that before, actually, so I'm a little intrigued.
Okay.
Like I heard about this announcement, but I didn't bother to look up what the Picross thing was. I'll have to look it up right now, like when I can.
Well, moving on. So I forget if we might have talked about this or not. Like, Nintendo might be making a new Switch model and potentially having 4K support. Well, this next story here kind of facilitates that news. Nintendo reportedly asking developers to make 4K ready games, suggesting Switch upgrade. Nintendo is reportedly asking developers to make 4K ready games, which could suggest that a new higher resolution console is on the way. A Bloomberg report about Nintendo's plans to boost Switch production includes a brief mention of Nintendo's apparent request. Third-party developers have reportedly been asked to make their games 4K ready, which implies the company is at least considering a model of the console that can output a higher resolution than Switch currently is capable of. I mean, it just makes sense, especially... Yeah. I think we did talk about this where, the market is leaning into all these, all the games coming out on the PS5 and Series X are going to be all 4K. So it just makes sense for Nintendo to kind of follow this trend so that way developers could essentially port those newer games onto the Switch. So you essentially just have almost the same library as the modern consoles, if you will.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's great that. I mean, I was kind of expecting this to happen maybe sometime this year, but I think it is cool that hey, Nintendo's moving along, trying to keep up, power wise with the other consoles. I'm perfectly happy with that. I mean, and who doesn't want 4K games for the Switch? I'm so pumped for that.
I know, that'd be fantastic. Also, give it a better battery. You're gonna need it with those 4K games.
Yes, seriously. If you're, yeah, it's gonna have to if it's gonna be having more to it. So.
All right, and last but not least, we got two new, what I would call big stories. This one was a huge announcement out of nowhere, which I'm very excited for.
Oh, yeah.
Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity announced, set 100 years before The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Nintendo has announced Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, a new game set 100 years before the events in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it will be released on Nintendo Switch this November 20th, 2020. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity will allow players to learn more about Zelda, the four champions, Mipha, Ravila, I can't say. Revali, thank you, Mike. I can't speak right now.
I'll slap you.
I've been reading too many of these articles, forgive me. I'm a fake gamer right here. Urbosa and Daruk, I said the other two right. The King of Hyrule, and more through dramatic cutscenes as they try to save the kingdom from calamity. The new game, which is being developed by Koei Tecmo, and will let players experience the great calamity referenced in Breath of the Wild for themselves, will have Link, Zelda, and more use their distinct abilities to take down everything from barbaric bokoblins to towering Lionels. There we go. In addition to Hyrule Warriors Age Calamity, supporting local two-player co-op, it will also challenge players to solve environmental puzzles, unlock weapons and skills, craft with gathered materials, visit shops to obtain items, and use the power of the Sheikah Slate. Which I think is very cool, because I'm going to be honest, I liked Hyrule Warriors a lot. I am not a big fan of the Warriors gameplay, which is just kind of a lot of mashy fighting hordes. Yeah. I like variety in these, and I'm very glad to hear that there are going to be some sort of puzzle elements, as well as different weapons and skills. I mean, personally, I also just think it's neat that you get to play as the champions, as well as Zelda and the King of Hyrule. I think that's great. I'm sure there's going to be other characters in there. People have broke down the trailer, and I think they've shown that, what's the name? Is it Impa? Like, young Impa might be a character.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for this. I am a big fan of Breath of the Wild. I am very happy to get back into that world. I think it's very smart that they made this essentially a prequel to Breath of the Wild. I was talking to my friend about this, and we are just saying, like, oh, if they just made a Hyrule Warriors 2 and kind of added more stuff to it, it probably wouldn't have done as well. So, like,
yeah, I think it would have flopped because, like, I'm sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, go ahead. I pretty much was finished.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I agree. Like, I got Hyrule Warriors, just kind of thinking, like, oh, it's a Zelda version of Dynasty Warriors. I'm not really the biggest. I didn't know much about that game series, but I thought, okay, it's Zelda. It's a Zelda version. I'll give it a shot. And at first, it was kind of fun because it is kind of like satisfying just going around and like killing armies as like you are like a one-man army just going around killing people. Like it was definitely like fun for a little bit, but it was definitely one of those games where, despite the fact that it had all this like Zelda charm to it and all these characters, and I like how it clearly wasn't like a canon game because, you know, they're just bringing in all the Zelda villains and everything. Like, it was actually really cool how it was kind of like a fan. It was almost like a fan game, you know?
Yeah, it was.
Just bringing in, and it was definitely enjoyable to play for the first time, and maybe in the future I'll play it again. But it was definitely like a good game to play once. And so if I heard that there was a sequel, I think I would be like, you know what, I tried out the Hyrule Warriors game. It was fun. It was fun while it lasted, but I don't think I want to play it again because because the gameplay wasn't the reason why I wanted to play. It was just because it was Zelda. But now, not only is it because, oh yeah, the gameplay is still the same for the most part, but now you have actual lore to what is probably one of the greatest Zelda stories ever. Is, you know, I mean, people can make all the arguments they want that the ending of the story was bad, and yeah, I agree, the ending of the game was kind of like lackluster, but the story actually is really fascinating, and like that bit of mystery of what happened in this war 100 years ago, and the fact that like one of the cool things is we can finally get to actually play as the champions is a big thing, you know. That was one of the
Zelda.
Yeah, and Zelda, yeah, like that was probably one of the, like, I think you played Zelda in the other Hyrule game, but like, yeah, like in Breath of the Wild as a whole, one of the most disappointing things was, I would say, the lack of an attention to detail for the champions. Like, they were awesome enough to think these guys are really cool characters. I wish I knew more about them. I wish I saw them in action. Because you hear about how
I bought the freaking amiibo for them. What do I do with them?
Exactly. It's like, man, like I heard that they fought alongside Link. They died to the blights in the sacred, in the what are they called, the divine beasts. Like, man, I wish I knew more about it. So the fact that this is not only like it's just all the Zelda stuff and has the fun gameplay of the Dynasty Warriors game, the fact that this is a canonical prequel to Breath of the Wild is the main reason why I think most people want to play this game. Like, we want to know what happened 100 years ago. How did these guys meet their demise? That's like, I think most of us are probably on board for that reason only, you know.
I think they should put a big thing on the box that says "Not Breath of the Wild 2."
Just yes, that way some people don't get mad.
Breath of the Wild 2 is coming.
Yeah, because you do know there are going to be those people out there who are like, "This isn't Breath of the Wild 2." It's like, yeah, well, yeah, you're just dumb for not realizing that. But oh man, but yeah, I am very just like you. I am very excited for this game.
And like you were mentioning, like, that was one of the main appeals I did like about Hyrule Warriors. It's all the different characters, because they all do play relatively different. So yes, I'm very excited for this. Can't wait. I think it's also cool that it's co-op. I don't know if the original... Did the Switch version or the Wii U version have, like, 2-player split-screen co-op?
I only had the Wii U version, and I don't know if it had co-op.
Yeah, I don't know either. Someone has to email us or Instagram, whatever.
Yes, please.
Last but not least, there was also a Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase. And personally, while I'm sick of seeing the word Partner Showcase, this one was actually pretty good.
I agree, yeah. At first I was like, oh, again, it was kind of like a shadow drop, like the day before. Oh, another Nintendo Mini Direct Partner Showcase. I'm like, oh my god, not another one of these damn things. And yeah, sure enough, it was actually like the best one we had in a long time. I was like, oh my gosh, actual good games are being announced, you know?
Yes, good new games, such as Monster Hunter Rise announced. A brand new Monster Hunter game exclusively on the Switch. No, this is not just a port of Monster Hunter World. This is a brand new
game.
Exclusive game on the Switch. Well, maybe exclusive. Asterisks. But yes, Monster
I
Hunter.
believe it is. I believe I did. I think I heard someone saying that this will only be for the Switch.
Awesome. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Rise will be releasing on Nintendo Switch March 26th, 2021. It features a grappling hook system. Oh gosh, I'm getting lost in this article here. Furthermore, it will feature a large, seamless map that can explore and the new dog-like companion mount called a Palamut. Capcom has also confirmed that there will be a compatibility of some kind with Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin, which was their other game they announced. Monster Hunter 2 Stories, Wings of Ruin. This one I personally wasn't excited for because I never played the first game on the 3DS. Kind of curious. I'm going off on a lot of tangents here, but I'm sure a lot of people never played the 3DS version, so I wonder if they're going to maybe remake that or put that on the Switch somehow. But anyways, I don't mean to poo-poo on this game. I'm sure a lot of people like Monster Hunter Stories, and they're making a sequel for that too, and that's going to be coming out summer 2021. And the trailer for that did look good. I'm just saying I didn't play the first one, but Monster Hunter Rise, I'm very excited for. I as a new Monster Hunter fan from Monster Hunter World, I'm in.
Yeah. I was never a big Monster Hunter guy, but it was when the Wii got its first exclusive, Monster Hunter Tri, that I thought, wow, this game looks pretty cool. And I admit, I love that game. It was I put so many hours into that game. It really got me, and I think it's because I really just enjoy that crafting system. And so, hey, I am all for this game coming out. It looks really cool. The Monster Hunter Stories games, I can't say I'm very familiar with. Like, that was very new to me, and I'm sure it has its fans. I think I'm definitely going to. I'm probably just going to stick with the Monster Hunter Rise game, just because that's like the more traditional like gameplay that I liked from Tri. So pretty pumped for it, and the grappling hook thing seems pretty neat too.
Yeah, it looks really good. That was probably the biggest announcement, but there were a couple other big announcements or somewhat biggish announcements. Like we mentioned earlier, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is out today, it's out now on Switch, which is really cool. I heard that's really good, just like the original game. There is a sequel to Fitness Boxing. I want to say that's almost like Nintendo's like other type of like fitness game. They did Ring Fit Adventure, but then they also did this because I think this is technically a Nintendo first party game. I guess that did well, so that's pretty cool. What else is in here? Rune Factory 5, that got a release date. Well, it's coming out next year. I guess it's not really a release date. It's 2021. Rune Factory games are pretty cool. It's kind of like if you ever been in the Harvest Moon, like that farming / RPG. They're pretty good. I've played a couple of the Rune Factory games on the DS.
Yeah, I can't say I have, but again, my saying how they were more familiar with Rune Factory, and they're pretty excited for it. I unfortunately just don't know much about it.
That one game, Balan Wonderland, that looks really cool. It's like the art director Yuji Naka and Naoto Ushima are like, they made like the Sonic Adventure games and like the Sega Billy Hatcher, like it kind of has like that style. Yeah, and it's like a 3D platformer game. Like, it actually looks really cool.
Yeah, actually, the art style immediately reminded me of Knights from Sega Saturn. That was the first one that came to my mind. Yeah, and when seeing Yuji Naka, I'm like, oh my god, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Like, what? I think he's one of the main creators of Sonic. Like, not just the adventure games. I think he was since the original. So that's pretty cool.
And then the only other game I want to say of notable here is Hades is also launched on Switch, and Hades is Big Giant's new roguelite action game, and I've been hearing nothing but good things about that. It looks real good. But with that being said, that's going to wrap up the news. We made it. And now we are going to transition to our second half of the podcast where we talk about what we've been watching and playing. What do you think, Mike? Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I can go first. I don't have much to talk about because, again, unfortunately, with the new puppy, I haven't been able to play too much. So
that makes sense.
So
yeah, don't cough into the mic. You're trying to give our listeners coronavirus.
Oh gosh, I forgot. Here, 1 second. Let me cough in my arm. That way,
spray some Lysol into the mic.
Where's my mask? I'll cough my mask. Then you're all safe. Okay. Anyway, what I've been playing, or I'll start with watching first. So I finally finished watching the very first season 1. I think it's the only season right now of The Witcher. And I have to say, I think the last time I talked about this, I mentioned how like the show is kind of like hit and miss. Like one episode will be really cool, the next episode will like just I'll be confused and lost. And then it was by episode 4 or 5 that I'm watching. I'm just like, man, I don't understand, like, because someone told me that there's a bit of like a time jump, like the show's not really doing a very good job of letting you know that this is actually taking place in the past and these scenes are taking place in the present. And so I was trying to catch along with this and try to keep up and see, like, okay, like maybe I can figure it out myself. And then by episode 7, it all kind of like came together. Well, like where like the time jump like vanished, and okay, like now all of these scenes are happening simultaneously, like at the same time. Like it's now in the present. Everything's starting to line up, and actually, it kind of like came full circle where I'm actually like not confused anymore. It's like, okay, this was showing you some glimpses into the past. This is the present, and now, then when episode 8 came around, I'm not going to give any big spoilers, but when episode 8 came around, we now have like I think it did a very good job concluding the very first season to establish these characters, establish that they have a destiny together, and it kind of makes me look. It actually does have me looking forward to season 2.
Okay.
Even though I'm not the biggest Witcher fan and I don't know much about The Witcher. It caught my attention enough to be like, yep, I do want to watch season 2 and see where this goes. So that's a good thing.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Yep. Let's see what else I've been watching. I'm still watching that one reality TV show,
Below Deck.
Below Deck, because apparently there's other versions of it. We finished the classic one. Then they have Below Deck Mediterranean, which is basically the exact same show, but there's like a new captain, and all of these take place, as you would expect, in the Mediterranean. The original show is mainly taking place in the Caribbean and in the Pacific Ocean. So it's just new cast, new crew, and hey, same drama, and I can't help it. I can't stop watching the show. So, oh my lord. Let's see what else. I think that's all I've really been watching, and yeah, just kind of putting these shows on in the background while I'm watching the dog. But hey, it's good enough for me. And The Witcher was the other show I was watching. I haven't seen any movies recently. I wanted to watch the Mulan movie, but man, I have heard a lot of controversy over that movie. And did you see the new Mulan movie on Disney?
I have not. I probably will watch it when it's free in December.
Yeah, that was my.
But yeah, I've also heard questionable things about it. So
yeah, people are telling me like for the $30 it's not worth it. And just again, spoilers, but just to let the listeners know, apparently the main thing is it's so different from the original. Like Mulan as a character herself is just so different that's where it's like this shouldn't be Mulan because it's not Mulan. They say it's like if Goku was a woman. That's kind of what they're saying, like from Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
And yeah, like it's like the whole dynamic of the movie is just different. Like I think they said Mulan in the original cartoon, like she went to go fight in the war to protect her father's life. That's not much of spoiler. That's Mulan. That's the original cartoon. She went into the war.
First 10 minutes. It's not spoiler.
Yeah, like that's what it's all about. Her taking her father's place in a war to save his life, and then her. Like, even though she's a woman, she's very smart and cunning, and that's how she's able to survive during this war against the Huns. And it's great, how she makes friends with the soldiers, blah blah blah. Like we all know.
Oh, make a man out of you. Sorry, I had to get that in there.
No, but I think the biggest thing is that song's not in the movie.
Okay. Well, I don't want to watch it now.
Exactly.
With Mushu not there and that song not there.
Yep, all that's missing.
All the personality of Mulan is just gone.
Yeah, that's the thing. They say that there's no personality. Like like everything that I said, but again, I'm just reiterating what the plot of the original Mulan was. That's not what this movie is about, and that's where it's like, oh, well, then this is not Mulan, and that's the main controversy. I'll leave it at that. I still want to watch it. I still want to watch it just to see. Okay, well, like because basically it sounds like this is a very entertaining action movie. It's like a kung fu movie, kind of like watching like a Jet Li movie. It's not like so if you're watch this expecting to watch Mulan, a live action movie, it's not that. It's like a kung fu movie. So I'll watch it eventually. But like you said, I'm probably just gonna wait until it's for free on Disney Plus because apparently it did not. People are saying it's not worth the $30, which is a shame. I don't want the movie to fail. I don't want Disney to be to fail with making these movies. It's just that it just so happens to be the case with this one. So at least from what I've heard.
I feel like a lot of those live action versions of the movies are very hit or miss. Like some of them are apparently like very good, but then some of them are just like very bad.
Yeah, well, because it's funny. Like when I saw the Mulan movie like first being teased, I'm like, oh wow, I wonder if this is gonna be like the Beauty and the Beast movie because I love that movie. I love that live action version.
It was pretty good. I actually just watched some of that on my vacation, and it was good.
Yeah, like, I think that one was very well done. And then, but for what I'm hearing, you can't expect the same kind of transition to as Mulan. It's not the same. So anyway, so that's all I've been watching. As far as what I've been playing, I am looking forward to actually playing a couple games. So I'll make this brief. I do have a couple games on my to-do list. I do want to play this Zelda game that I never played before, and that's Zelda, The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. I heard that's a great game, and I do want to play it because I've actually been really digging into like Zelda lore. Like, I mean, I like Zelda, but I was never the biggest Zelda fan. So recently, I've been getting into a little bit of like a kick where I've been like really like delving into the story and like the actual like timeline of Zelda because I knew how like the Zelda has the Hyrule Historia and how it explains the timeline split in Ocarina of Time, and I never really quite grasped it. I just said, whatever, it's Zelda, I just want to play it, and yes, you're going to see a bunch of like recurring themes, that's just Zelda. But then I was really getting into like digging into like the nitty-gritty of all the Zelda lore, and there is a lot of consistency where like everything does kind of seem to fall into like this timeline where it explains recurring characters, it explains recurring landscapes. So I'm like really nerding out when it comes to Zelda now. So it's kind of fun, which also makes me concerned because right now Breath of the Wild doesn't really fall on the timeline yet, and it really actually is kind of curious, and that's why I'm looking forward to Breath of the Wild 2, where we have to explain where is Ganondorf coming from, because so far, according to all the timelines in Zelda, Breath of the Wild doesn't really line up. Like no one really knows where this is on the timeline. And I think the one running theory is this is supposed to be the game where all the timelines converge again. I don't know. That might just be like again like some big brain Zelda theory. But anyway, I've been getting really into the Zelda lore, and one of the games I've heard is actually a really important game is the Minish Cap, because it's actually one of the earlier games in the series. I think it's the first game to take place after Skyward Sword, which is the first game chronologically. And this is also the game that introduces us to a brand new villain, Vati. And so like I'm just really curious. I've heard a lot of good things about it. It was like a Game Boy Advance game, and I just never played it before, and I figured that would be a good thing for me to let's play. I might do that for Level With Me YouTube channel. If not, I'll just play it on my own, because I feel like that it's probably going to be a really long game, so I might just play it on my own. But
yeah, I could see that. I have heard good things about it. Like, yeah, people say it's one of the best Zelda games. Yeah. Also, I'm glad you pointed out about that Breath of the Wild and like Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, because I was going to say maybe Age of Calamity will have some sort of tease of Breath of the Wild 2, or maybe, something like that. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Yeah. I hope it answers. So I hope, I'm fine with there being some bit of mystery, but I hope it answers some of the mysteries, or maybe give us a little bit of a tease, Because little small tangent, because I do have a theory that
although I do believe that Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 will be a sequel, my one theory is the scene that we see in the trailer a prequel? Like, not like that's not the game, but just that scene from the Breath of the Wild 2 teaser trailer. What if that is actually happening before Age of Calamity? Like, that is where the Calamity begins. That's my little running theory in my head. Yeah, because I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know what? Like, because if you look at like the landscape at the end of the teaser trailer, the landscape is supposed to be Hyrule, right? But like, you don't see any of the Sheikah Towers. You don't see any of those giant pillars that we have seen in the Age of Calamity trailer. Is where a lot of the Guardians were popping out of. Those like giant pillars that are surrounding the Hyrule Castle. So my theory so far is, what if just not the whole game, but just that scene is actually a glimpse of what happened before the Age of Calamity, or happened before Age of Calamity when the actual like whole war begins, like that, like unleashed Calamity Ganon on the world or whatever. So I don't know. We'll see. Again, I'm really like nerding out on the whole thing. It's been like it captivated me like over the last like couple weeks.
I also wanted to ask, before you get off to another point, does Hyrule Warriors actually fall in the timeline?
Hyrule Warriors, no. I think that game has been known to be just like a little like fun fictional game.
Fan
like I'm
service.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense because it does have characters from all the different games in it.
Yeah, like has games from all the timelines in one. So it's kind of like, I think it's just supposed to be like a spin-off, you know? Like, oh, it's
almost
Dynasty
like
Warriors,
Smash Brothers, but just in Zelda.
Yep. It's just Dynasty Warriors with a splash of Zelda, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so the Minish Cap, that'll be a little game I want to play. For the Let's Play channel, we're actually currently right now playing Super Mario World, which I'm really enjoying, and I'm looking forward to getting more gameplay of that done.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, because that game won't take too long to finish. It's just a great game. I love it. It's one of the classics. Let's see. I definitely want to. I'm actually making like a list right here of like games I want to play for the channel, and I'm thinking that the next one I'm going to play might either be the original Sonic the Hedgehog or Donkey Kong Country. It's gonna be one of those games. So I don't know, maybe we'll do like a poll or something for that. Speaking of Sonic, I am finally finishing up Sonic CD. I am at the very last stage, and I have to admit, so far the game's been great. The one frustrating thing is I screwed up. I screwed up the Let's Play, like for me personally, because I was really trying to do my best to get the good ending, because this game does have a good and bad ending. And if you guys watched the last episode, I screwed it up. I actually completed a level without doing the task I have to do to get the good ending, and you can't go back. You can't like redo a level. So I basically ruined the entire.
Oh no!
Yeah. I mean, I'm still gonna play the game. I'm still gonna beat it, but I'm not gonna get the good ending. Something that I just have to deal with, and it's unfortunate because like I still want to play the game to the best of my abilities, and I still want to like do some of the things that I would be doing to get the good ending, but sometimes it just makes me realize that like there's no point. Let me just, because there were in some of the previous episodes, like I was actually getting really frustrated. Like I realized like unless you played the game multiple times, which I haven't, this is my first time playing it. I'm like, wow, like this game actually does require a bit of thinking and like planning out like where you go. Because there's a couple of instances where like if you go past a certain point, like a barrier will prevent you from going back in the stage, and then you can't get to like certain pass signs, which might be like where you have to go to get to the robot generator. Like so, basically, there are like this is definitely one of those games where like me. I'm not even playing it on an emulator. I'm playing it like on my like the actual like PC version. So I can't like just reload a save state. So once I complete the game, I basically in some cases I just have to kill myself if I like screw it up, which I have done plenty of times, and I just died because I'm bad at the game. But then during the one level I went through a tube and it shot me right past the goalpost, and I was like, no, and I couldn't like go backwards. I completed the stage, and I had to go to the next stage, and I technically right at that point knew I just ruined the whole the good ending. So anyway, that game should be done pretty soon. I hopefully this week I can finally play the and wrap that up, and then I can get ready for the next Let's Play.
Too bad you're not going to save all the animals or whatever.
Yeah, not saving the animals. So, that's kind of the funny thing, because again, I know a lot about the game. I think a bit of a spoiler warning. So if you get the good ending, you just the good ending should be like the normal ending. Like you defeat Dr. Robotnik and everything's good to go, and Sonic saved the day. If you get the bad ending, which is what I'm going to be getting, I think what I saw on YouTube is the bad ending is it's the exact same thing as the good ending, but then Dr. Robotnik uses those time stones to just go back in time and redo everything that he did. So it's like, oh look, he's bad. Like everything that you did in the game is undone, and Dr. Robotnik takes over the planet again. So it's like, it's all for nothing. So that's what I have to deal with when I get to the end of the game.
That blasted Jim Carrey.
Darn it, Jim Carrey, you and your Eggmobile or whatever he had. I don't know. It was darn it, Jim Carrey and your mech. That's what it was.
Yep.
I think that was the title. Oh Lord, but yeah. So that's what I've been playing recently, and I am looking forward to playing Super Mario All Stars when I have to say, so I am looking forward to playing that game because I love Mario. I can't wait to play. I can't wait to play this game on the Switch. My copy, I think, was stolen. So Amanda has Amazon Prime, and she's like, "Well, Mike, I can pre-order it for you, and it'll be here in a couple of days." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, babe. I appreciate that." And she says, "Yeah, Mike, it came in the mail on Friday." And I was like, "Oh, you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, it says delivered." And I'm like, "Oh, well, it's not here." Then Saturday, I thought maybe it was lost, or like it was just delayed in the shipping. And nope, it didn't arrive. And even today, there's no game. So I have a feeling that either two things happened. Either they lost the game and they just said whatever it arrived, which it didn't, and I'll get a refund. Because there's no Amazon normally takes pictures of when they drop the game off. There's no picture on the website, so I think they just either didn't drop it off and then they just said it was delivered, or they did drop it off, didn't take a picture, and someone walked up and swiped it. But I mean, we've had a lot of like big packages on our porch and other even small ones too with Amazon. So I'm leaning more towards the game wasn't stolen. Maybe it was just lost and Amazon just never dropped it off, but they just said that whatever, market is completed or market is shipped. So I'm going to try to get a refund on that and maybe just go to Walmart. I think Walmart's selling the game for $10 cheaper. Walmart's selling it for... Yeah,
they usually do that.
Yeah, so I might just go to Walmart and get it now.
I think someone stole it because that darn Nintendo had to be like, well, this game's only a limited supply. Yeah. We're only releasing them till March, so you got to get them quick, kiddies.
Yeah, so that punk kid who walked over was like, oh, that guy definitely ordered. It's mine.
Yeah. You know, Mike, it's funny enough because I also had issues getting my copy of Super Mario 3D All-Stars as well. So this came out last Friday. I was still on vacation. There was a Walmart near our vacation rental. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to wake up somewhat early, like get to the Walmart pretty much like when it opens and get my copy. Now, I wasn't there exactly when Walmart opened. I was there at like 7:10 and it opened at like 7. So, you know, there honestly shouldn't have been any way that someone could have gotten there and bought all the copies. It could have happened though. I don't know. But I did go in there, and I went to the electronics section, and they did have the tags for 3D All-Stars, like in the Switch, like where all the game case. And I go over to the woman working there, and I'm like, hey, do you have any copies of this game? And she's like, no, all we got, whatever we got out, that's all we got. And I was already kind of upset because it's like, well, you're not even going to like humor me and like look in the back or like, you know, anything like that. So I was like, oh, darn, that sucks because it's like, there's literally nothing around here. Like, it's very much a vacation town. Like, I was looking on my maps, and it's like, a GameStop is like an hour to an hour and a half away. A Target is far away, or Best Buy. So it's like, this is all I got. And I didn't want to be too rude, but I just went back up to her and I'm like, well, hey, this game technically came out today. Shouldn't there be copies? Do you guys know if you're going to get like a truck in later of supplies? And she's very nice. She's like, yeah, maybe by like 2:30 we might have more, or we might get a truck of stuff. I'm like, okay, I'll call at 2:30 and maybe they'll have copies so I can buy it. I actually didn't call. My girlfriend called because she's nice and knows I don't like to talk to customer support on phones. And I believe she said they were very rude. They were just like, what game? And then like, oh no, we don't have any of those. We didn't even get any. And it's like, are you kidding me? They didn't even get any in. It's a brand new game. And then even my mom ended up going to that Walmart later in the day. I don't know what she needed to get, but she even asked the person there. So like literally almost my whole family on the trip asked for this game. And the man at Walmart told my mom, I don't think that game even is physical. I think it's download only. And I was so mad, especially on Saturday when I came home and went to my local Target and got the physical box. And I'm like yelling at my girlfriend, like, look, Megan, you can only get it download apparently. But what am I holding right now? I guess I got scammed.
Sounds like the Walmart people just don't care. Or maybe they did sell out and they just didn't bother to say, I'm sorry, some guy came in and bought all of them. He's sitting right outside the door right now selling the games for $60 a piece.
And
that'd be funny.
And I'm a cynical guy, so when I went into the Target, we were looking at like the different like, you know, distributors like Target, Walmart, and Best Buy around our area. And a lot of them were all like sold out already. And when I went in this Target, I'm like, all right, Megan, I know that we already ordered online, so all I have to do is walk up to the front and pick up the copy and we can leave. But humor me, let's just go into the back and see if they have copies in the Switch like section where they put the new games and whatnot. And of course, there's like a bunch of copies there. I'm like, okay, great. It's literally just I had bad luck, or this Walmart just didn't get any copies for some reason.
Yeah.
But all that to be said, I do have my copy. I haven't touched the game yet personally because I don't know what I want to do with that game yet. I might let's play one of the games, if not all of them.
I think it'd be good. I think it'd be good for the channel. I think that'd be it.
I honestly really haven't touched a lot of Super Mario 64. I honestly only really played a bit of it with the DS port, which I know is a little different. I've never touched Sunshine, and Galaxy I pretty much beat. But yeah, I might like do a Let's Play or something with 64 and Sunshine. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Whoops. Cool. I think it'd be really fun for you to try. I mean, I actually love Sunshine. That's a game I wouldn't mind playing. I think I played that game 2 years ago. Like I booted up my old GameCube copy and played it, and it's still a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to playing it just like, you know, on the Switch with the new visuals, like you know, the HD.
Weirdly enough, Sunshine was the one I feel like got the most buzz out of everyone I talked to about the 3D All-Stars. Like my girlfriend was like, she loves Sunshine. Granted, I don't think she's played the other games, but she's like, oh, I really want to play Sunshine. And then like one of my friends at work, he's like, yo, Sunshine's the winner out of all those games. And I'm like, come on, guys. Has no one played Galaxy? Like Galaxy's fantastic. Honestly, Galaxy might be my favorite in the collection. But yeah, I'm biased considering that's the only one I really played.
Yeah. I want to say that definitely Super Mario 64 has more... that's closer to my heart because that was like...
It's a nostalgia thing.
Yeah, that being the first game I ever played on the N64, the first 3D like Mario game like that, it blew my socks off. Although, yes, I understand, you know, where the game's coming from nowadays. I will say though that it's really hard for me to actually pick them or put them in like a tier list.
I get that too.
Yeah, because Galaxy is fantastic. It really is. Galaxy is so good. I absolutely adored Galaxy. Don't get me wrong. I do think Galaxy could have. I mean, the one thing Galaxy doesn't have, it's more like this is just traditional Mario platforming. You know, it has a hub world though, just like just like Sunshine and 64. It has a hub world, just the levels are more linear. But that's like the only downside. The gameplay is still the gameplay, the visuals, the soundtrack. Oh my god, the soundtrack is just incredible. But I think there was a lot of appeal for Sunshine because Sunshine was just so different. And actually, Mario's controls in that game are also very good. Like on the GameCube, the Nintendo GameCube controls for Mario on that were so amazing. And I think 64 might be the weakest one. But again, it's just for nostalgia reasons.
It didn't age well.
Yeah. No, that game did not age well at all. But when you put yourself in the mind of a guy back in 1996, the game really is still like game breaking, like for its time.
And I really don't want to like poo-poo on Sunshine. I've never played it. Who knows? Maybe that would be my favorite one in the collection once I have them all played.
It gets a lot of hate because it is definitely the worst game to 100%. That's all I'll say. It is very, very frustrating trying to 100% and get all 120 stars.
I know of that aggravating pachinko level.
Oh my goodness. No, there's the pachinko level and then there's the poison river level.
Oh.
Yeah, don't worry, when you play, you'll find that level. It's pretty bad. But anyway, I think we've been on a bit of a tangent.
Should I talk about my week? Yeah, we're talking about 3D All-Stars.
Yep. So yeah, that's all I've been playing and what I'm looking forward to playing. Corey, how about you? What have you been watching and playing recently?
All right, since it's been 2 weeks, there's a good chunk of stuff here. I've actually watched a surprising number of things, being with my family, watched a lot of movies. I'm not going to go over every movie we watched because we could be here for a while. But I'll state a few. But first, I want to talk about some shows I started watching. So I think I talked about before how I want to like start dipping my toes back into anime because I really do enjoy it. So I started watching one of the pinnacle genre-defining animes that for some reason I've never watched before, but that is Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's a show I've heard so much about, and I think so I've heard about it. I can't say.
Yeah, I just started watching it. They actually put like all of the Neon Genesis Evangelion series on Netflix. Like I want to say sometime in like May or June, like in the middle of the year, or maybe it was before that. I forget. But that's where I'm just watching it all, and it's like it looks all crisp and everything. But yes, as you, I've also heard a lot about it, and I really don't know anything about the series at all. All I know is everyone who I've been talking to about it is like, "Oh, you're in for a roller coaster, Corey. Get excited." I'm like, okay. I literally don't know what to expect, but overall, I'm enjoying it. I'm very early in. I'm only 3 episodes out of 26. Basically, the plot, I'll say, from what I've watched so far, is this like high school boy is transported to this like future city. It takes place in like the future, but their future is in the year like 2012 or 2015. So it was made in like the 90s, so it's almost like an 80s movie or something like that. But yeah, he's brought to this like future lab, and basically his dad, who he really doesn't know or never met, wants him to like pilot this big mech, and it almost has like it's giving me like reminiscent of like Pacific Rim, where like how you control the mech is like you kind of just go in this pod and it fills up with this like goo, and it's not even really like he has like buttons and like levers or like a steering wheel or anything like that. It's almost like the mech becomes like one with you, so you just move and the mech will move with you. But it's basically like there's these big, like, I don't even know if they're mechs or monsters that are called like angels, and essentially these mechs are fighting the angels. I don't know why. Again, I'm very early in it. So far, I'm liking it, though. It is an old anime, for those of you who aren't familiar with it. I think it came out in like the 80s or the 90s. But I think it's holding up pretty well, and I'm enjoying it so far. Very early in it. Hope to watch more of that soon.
Very nice.
Also, very recently, I started watching this show on Netflix with my girlfriend. She actually just wanted to watch it, but I kind of just started sitting down with her and watching it with her. And it's called Ratched. And this show, I think the show literally just came out too, like probably a few weeks ago. It's set in the 1940s era. It's live action. And it's about this like woman. I forget her full name, but her last name is Ratched. Like the show is named after her. And she essentially, I don't want to give too much away because it's very plot heavy, but she's trying to get this job at this like mental institute building. And this show is just like so full of like twists and turns. These characters are like, you never expect what they're going to do next. It's very dark. There's a lot of like graphic, gory material, a lot of sex and stuff like that. It's kind of got a vibe of like an American Horror Story. I don't know if you've ever watched any of those, like the seasons, Mike, or anything like that.
No, I haven't.
But it's kind of like this dark, like fantasy noir type thing. There's like reporters and like, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, it's kind of, it's very much like she's trying to get this job there at this like mental institute, and how she kind of does it. She's almost like kind of like just scheming her way in. Like she has this letter that was written from the head doctor there, and everyone's like questioning, is it real or is she forged it? And then like she kind of gets like dirt on one of the other nurses and kind of pretty much blackmails her and is like, okay, you basically have to like quit your job so I can get a job there. Because the head doctor like said, like, you know, we can't hire anyone right now because we just don't have enough staffing or enough money. And it's kind of like a lot of that. Like it's like this nurse trying to get into this mental institute. And honestly, the main thing, which I forgot to mention, is the first scene of this show is this deranged man goes into this like priest's building. I forget what it's called. Like not a church, but like where the like priests go to like live. And
the convent, not the convent. I know what you're talking about.
It might be the con. Is it the
rectory?
Rectory, yes.
Yep.
And he basically pretends like he's like lost or homeless and needs a place to go, and he ends up like brutally murdering like all the priests in there. And you find out that like the head priest basically like raped his like mom, and that's pretty much like how he was born. And this guy's a priest, so he also shouldn't, like, there's so much going on right there, like he shouldn't be doing that to begin with. But you know, it's very dark, and essentially that guy is going to this mental institute, so it kind of seems like this main Ratched lady wants to kind of like get to know him. But I don't want to give too much away. I will say this, I'm very much enjoying this show. I'm 4 out of 8 episodes in. Probably going to finish it. It's very entertaining. Like I said, it's very dark. It's got like that... It's almost like a horror movie, but I wouldn't say it's scary as much as it's almost like a Saw type movie where it's kind of just more like graphic and intense. But it's actually very good. I think the characters are very well like written, and like you kind of always are like, oh, I can't believe this character's doing that. Like they're all, it's kind of funny because like you almost like, it's almost like Game of Thrones where it's like, oh, I like that character. Oh, they're gone. Or, oh, I like that character. And oh, they like turn out to be not someone who's likable. I don't want to say anything else. All I'm saying is I like it. It's called Ratched. Check it out. After that, like I said, I watched a lot of movies while I was off, like with my family at the beach. Some I rewatched. One I wanted to point out here, we talked about Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game. Well, I actually watched the movie Scott Pilgrim versus the World, starring oh my god, I'm blanking on his name.
When he passed away,
Wait, he passed away? No, he didn't pass away, did he?
Wait a minute, I got
Michael Cera. Michael Cera. Got it.
Oh, he was. Oh, I'm thinking of a different movie.
No, Michael Cera is Scott Pilgrim, like the main character in the live action version of Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Maybe I'm thinking that was the worst song. Anyway, I'll look it up later. But okay, so continue.
So I watched this movie years ago, like probably when I was in high school, and like I know like everyone is supposed to like love Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but I don't know, something about it I just didn't really like it at the time. Like I thought it was like a little too like video game culture and stuff like that, and I don't know, like it didn't leave a good taste in my mouth, so to say. Like I was kind of like, oh, it's okay, but it's not really my thing. But after rewatching it again, like I did really enjoy the movie, and I didn't think it was as bad as I remembered when I was in high school. It's definitely a great movie to watch. It's on Netflix, so then you guys haven't checked it out. I mean, basically the plot is Scott Pilgrim, he's in a band. He's kind of fallen for this one girl. Turns out if you want to date this one girl, you got to defeat her seven evil exes. And by defeat, I mean like a video game, you fight them like a boss or like in a fighting game. It's pretty funny. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's written very well. It's shot very well. It's a good time. And it's got like a lot of video game references in it and other like nerd culture. It's a very good movie. I really enjoyed it. I also watched, this is a new movie, and I've never heard of this before, and I think it came out this year because we looked it up. And I believe it is a Redbox exclusive movie. So set your expectations there.
Oh, they're super high now. Okay.
It's called Becky. And the most notable star of this movie is one Kevin James.
Okay.
And the best way to describe this movie is I would say this is almost like what if Kevin James did what oh gosh, I'm blanking on actor Adam Sandler. There we go. What if Adam Sandler did what Uncut Gems did, but this is Kevin James like playing a very serious dark role, you know.
Interesting.
Yes, and I wanted to say I thought this movie was going to be good. I personally didn't really care for it. Basically, the movie opens with this girl, or this high school girl, kind of like covered up in blood and kind of like trembling in like a police department, and they're kind of like about to question her, and then it kind of goes back in time to kind of like show what happened to her. And basically she's at like this like camp, or not a camp, she's at like a cabin type house with her like dad and like her stepmom and her like not adopted brother, but like stepbrother or whatever. And she's very edgy and teenage, so she doesn't want to like accept that they're gonna be her new family or whatever. So she kind of resents like the new family. And then where Kevin James comes into place is he's like a convict being transferred to like a new prison, and like him and his gang like actually take over the like car that are transferring them and basically break out. And they end up pretty much going to this like cabin where they're all staying in, and kind of he's looking for this like key essentially. And like he knows it's there, and he's pretty much just like harassing them with his like gang of goons. And something that really shocked me about Kevin James's character, where you can tell he was trying to be real serious, is his character from jail is like a straight up like Nazi. Like he has a big like swastika tattoo on the back of his head, which I was just like, wow, you did not expect Kevin James to look like this. He also has like a big old beard. Just search the word Becky film or whatever, and you can look up.
I was actually looking.
You can look up what Kevin James looks like in this movie, and it is very odd. It's not funny at all. Like it's serious. It's kind of dark and twisted. A lot of gore. I didn't really care for it. I don't even think Kevin James necessarily did a bad job. It's just I don't think the movie was very good, personally.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes I feel like, even though like he's a good actor, he's obviously a fun. It's like sometimes they just don't fit certain roles, especially if they're known for comedy. You know, that's the biggest thing.
I don't even think Kevin James can't do a serious role. Like I just don't think this was a very good movie.
Like I said, overall, it wasn't just his character. Overall, the movie was bad.
His character wasn't great either. Like honestly, he'd say his lines and he'd be like, "Try to take me." Like I feel like when he's just doing his stuff, he's like, "Come on, guys, I'm serious," and it's like, but he's just Kevin James. Like you just want to you just want him to like fall on his butt and like fart or something.
Yeah. Oh, come on, Carrie! Yeah, and make his weird sounds that he always does. You know.
Yes, that was Becky. I don't know how you watched that other than Redbox. I'm pretty sure it was a Redbox exclusive.
Sorry, quick tangent.
Go ahead.
You kind of reminded me. Did you know that Kevin James had another really serious movie with Ray Romano?
No.
It was called Grilled. I
remember look this up right now.
Yeah, again, like both comedians, and even their shows, like Everyone Loves Raymond and King of Queens, they had like I think like one or two little like crossover episodes. So like they've worked together, and they were in a movie called Grilled, and I think it's like a drug movie or something where they're like it's been a very long time since I watched the movie, but I think it involves like them being like either drug dealers or criminals. I don't really remember, but it was like a really serious movie, and it just did not work for the two of them.
I searched grilled and I found that. For the audio listeners, just search Kevin James grilled, and there's a picture of Adam Sandler and Kevin James and Rob Schneider, and someone photoshopped. Yeah, their faces are shrunk, and it says Adam Sandler, please stop at the bottom. That's great. I'm actually gonna save that picture. That's hilarious.
That's good for Instagram, actually. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that was Becky. I didn't care for it. Interesting movie though. Literally, also like I can tell my whole family also hated it because like halfway through the movie, I feel like they were all just like doing their own thing. I'm like, guys, can we at least just finish it? And then last but not least, like I said, I watched a lot of like other movies that I'm not going to talk about. I mentioned earlier we watched the live action Beauty and the Beast. I enjoyed it. I recently rewatched the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like the new one with my girlfriend. That's always that's a good time. But I want to talk about, I rewatched the Alice in Wonderland, the like live action original movie with Johnny Depp.
I was gonna say like Johnny Depp was in the Charlie in the Chocolate Factory movie as well. So yes. Yeah, all these Johnny Depp movies.
I guess unironically. But yeah, I actually really like this movie. This is, I think, I don't know if Disney has done this with other of their live action adaptations. I think they might have did this with the Dumbo movie, but I haven't watched that yet. Where this is like a canonical sequel to the like animated thing, but it's just live action and they just slightly change a few things here or there. But I actually kind of really like that because it's basically like the premise is like Alice essentially, you know, she thought she dreamt Wonderland. And when she's going back into Wonderland as like a teenager, she's like, "Oh, this is all a dream." But she's like, it's a more like dark, gritty version of Wonderland. Like literally, when she gets back, they're like, "Oh, here's this ancient scroll that says you're gonna slay the this ancient beast. I forget what it's called, the Bandersnatch or something,
or the Jabberwock.
Jabberwock, yeah. Bandersnatch is something else. But yeah, and she's like, "What? I don't kill anything." And yeah, like by the end of it, I mean, spoiler alert, but she gets like this really cool like set of armor, and she has a sword and a shield, and it's like, what is this movie?
Yeah, like there was a war in Wonderland.
And it's pretty cool, and I don't think my girlfriend saw it, and we were watching it for the first time, and I mean, I don't like to be the guy who's like, "Oh, you got to watch this part," but I was kind of like telling her, I'm like, "Look, this is pretty cool because it's literally like a sequel to Alice in Wonderland. Like it's kind of neat and fascinating." But I enjoyed it. I just want to say that it was a fun rewatch.
Yeah, I think the just I'll say this really quickly. The best part of that movie it was like, no, this is like, as you said, a sequel to Alice in Wonderland. So like they could do basically whatever they want with it and just bring back some of the old characters. But like, yeah, for the most part, it's a brand new story. Just like apparently, I think Carl Lewis is the author of Alice in Wonderland. And he's also the author of the book Jabberwocky, or I should say, I think it's like a poem, Jabberwocky.
Oh,
and that's yeah. I don't know if you've read it, but apparently Jabberwocky is one of the best like old school monster stories because basically Carl Lewis never drew the Jabberwock. That was like the whole point of it. That he describes it in the story, and again, the story is like 8 paragraphs long. It's really short, and the whole point of Jabberwock is that no one knows what it looks like. But then obviously there's a lot of like artist renditions of it from the way he describes it. And I think it was fun. It was funny because in the movie, that is the actual most popular version of what people think the Jabberwock looks like. You can probably, if you want, you can Google it. Like there's technically like one like real famous artist rendition, but I don't think Carl Lewis ever drew it. So that was kind of the main thing where they are incorporating 2 Carl Lewis stories, you know, Alice in Wonderland and Jabberwock together, which is pretty neat.
That is pretty neat. I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah.
So yes, I enjoyed rewatching all those or that movie. And then we can get on to video games because guess what? I played some video games.
Oh, hot damn.
So honestly, surprisingly enough, a lot of my time on my vacation I spent playing a lot of Legends of Runeterra. Considering we didn't have Wi-Fi or internet for a lot of the time, I was just kind of playing this on my phone. And I was having a good time. I was kind of just grinding to get more cards to build a new deck, which I did end up building, and I was having a lot of fun with it. But I noticed I was getting a little salty about losing too much, and it was kind of affecting my mood. So I was like, you know what? I do enjoy this game right now. I think I just need to take a little break from it. But I'll go back to it. And, I'm pretty happy that I've been kind of like trying to put my time into other stuff right now. I also recently got back into playing Animal Crossing. I figured, you know what? It's getting close to October. I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of Halloween event for Animal Crossing, and I'm going to be really excited about that because I'm hoping there's going to be like, jack-o'-lanterns and all the fun like Halloween decorations. So I'm like, I should get back into here and get all the things that are for like this season, the bugs and fish and all that kind of stuff. And it was a lot of fun coming back to the game. All the little villagers were like, Corey, you haven't been here for a month. We missed you. Where were you? And
we need your turnips. We're starving.
Just seeing. No, you sell turnips. You don't eat turnips. I made that mistake, Mike.
They eat turnips. So without you selling them the turnips, they're starving.
No, the ants eat the turnips. That's how you get an ant. You got to leave the turnips on the island. Then when they rot, the ants come out.
The tarantulas eat the turnips.
Pro tip. The tarantulas are coming back. It's soon to be tarantula season.
Oh, no. No.
It's thematically correct for Halloween, too.
Yeah,
but yes, I don't know if I ever talked about this, but their last update was kind of lackluster. The September update, all they really added was, if you shake trees, occasionally an acorn or a pine cone will fall out, and you can make like a special like item if you get a certain number of them. Which honestly is pretty lame. And when I was playing it, I'm like, I really hope that this next update is pretty good, like what I would consider the Halloween or the October update, because I feel like Animal Crossing has kind of been a little dead in the water for the past few months because the updates haven't been too like dramatic. So again, I'm just looking forward to hopefully that being something really cool and revigorating some life in Animal Crossing. I also have been replaying Outlast with Megan. We were just talking about how I wanted to play some horror games because we're getting close to Halloween. Now, I played Outlast years ago. It was actually one of the first games that was free on like PlayStation Plus with the PS4. And I didn't beat it, but I have like watched someone play through all of Outlast, and I was pretty darn close to beating the original Outlast. But I told her that, and she didn't get very far at all. Like, she probably didn't even play like an hour or so of Outlast. So we pretty much played to the point that she got up to, and then, I don't know, we kind of just did something else. But we're probably going to return to that because we were enjoying it. I actually like that game. It is a little dated. It looked a little choppy on the PS4 and on our big TV. But it is kind of old if you think about it. But it's still a pretty good game.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking about the game today with some friends at work. How like it's funny. I probably should mention this. Also, have on my to-do list to go and play the sequel, Outlast 2. I think I downloaded that game on Steam a long time ago.
I would like to play that one. I've never seen anything about that one.
Yeah, I played like the first like 10 minutes, and like, my God, this game is so good. Just like the first one, and I just never played it again. And it wasn't until today at work when I got reminded. Oh yeah, I have that game still, so I have to go and play it.
When I was playing with Megan, though, over the weekend, she played for most of it. Then I just picked up the controller because she was getting like a little tired of it. And I was like, I don't remember the controls to play this. And something you can do in Outlast, which you got to be careful of, is when you reload the batteries for your camera, you can just do that on a whim and it doesn't stop you. So let's say your battery is at like maybe like 80%. You can just reload another battery and then that last one's just gone. So be very careful when reloading batteries, because I essentially wasted 2 batteries and I felt bad. So I'm like, okay, well now I'm going to play and just replenish the batteries that I made you lose. But yeah, that's a good game. It's also very spoopy.
Yeah, definitely freaky. I think it has a really good aesthetic to it with the whole like darkness and using the camera to see. It's very scary.
Yeah. I also played for the first time, this is a new game, Among Us. This game has been blowing up right now as the new like multiplayer frenzy madness type game. Basically, for those of you who don't know what this is, it is I would say at least 2 to 8 player game. It's like top down, almost like a old Zelda type game. And you play as these like little thumb astronaut things, almost like an astronaut Fall Guy, but lose the arms. And you essentially have to go around your space shuttle and complete tasks. But you also have to try to avoid the killers, because 1 to 2 of the other astronauts are aliens, and their task is to kill you, while all the other astronauts are trying to complete their task and just make it out alive. And there's a lot of, it's a very like social type of game, because it's a lot of like being like, okay, where was Jimmy? Was Jimmy in this room? Jimmy wasn't in this room. Okay, Jimmy might be the alien. Or, oh, hey, Gary over there. I don't know where Gary went. And there's Bob. He's dead in there. So maybe Gary might have murdered Bob. It's like a lot of like, accusing people. And like, you got to always watch people where they go. And you kind of like don't want to be alone because you might get targeted. Like, it's a lot of like kind of being in a group and always like paying attention. It's a very much like social type game too, like always being like on your toes and talking with people. I mean, you can like falsely accuse people, you can like trick people to be like, oh hey, Gary's not really an alien, but let's just try to say he's an alien, and they can like send him out because you can vote people off of the space shuttle. It's a very oh, go ahead.
I was saying that is pretty cool. Like, I only just recently heard about this game too and how popular it's getting, and I think it's cool. It's kind of like a murder mystery kind of a theme.
Pretty much, yeah. And the tasks you do with not the alien is you can like, they're basically all just like little mini games. So like you have to like connect wires of the same colors, or just like type in the number combination, what it says, or there's like a Simon Says type thing. I only played like 2 rounds of this, so I'm not too familiar with it, and I never got to play as the alien or whatever they're called. I was only the engineer or the astronauts, but it's a lot of fun. I'm hoping to play more of this. It's also very cheap, so if you know a group of friends who want to play it, give it a shot. It's actually free on your phone. I know it's on Steam. I don't know if it's on anything else, but it's pretty fun. I like it. I also completed Bastion. I think I mentioned a while ago that I started this game, and this was primarily the thing I played on vacation besides like Legends of Runeterra. And my goal was I wanted to make sure I beat this game before I came back. And I did. And it was a very good game. For those of you who don't remember, Bastion is like this top-down isometric action game. It's pretty linear. You go from like level to level, defeating different enemies. You have like 2 weapons you have. You have a special ability. You have a dodge roll and a shield, which you can parry with. And the one thing I could say is I thought the weapons would have been slightly more varied. By the end of the game, you kind of just end up with a bunch of different like ranged weapons, like guns essentially, which is cool, but I thought it was going to be more like melee focused. But that's not really a diss about the game at all. The game itself was a lot of fun. All the levels are really well designed. Like the visuals of the game are incredible. I forget the name of the Supergiant. That's the name of the company who makes these games. Their visuals are always really well done. The gameplay is also just really, really fun. It also has a pretty interesting story, and there's like a lot of extra little content you can do in there, because each level has like you get like these upgrade materials that give your weapons all different like little bonuses. There's challenge levels where you can unlock more of those upgrade materials or special abilities for the different weapons of choice. All the weapons themselves actually feel really good and unique. For example, there's like eventually get these 2 pistols that the faster you tap the like attack button for them, the quicker they shoot. And then there's also like a spear you get, which is more of a long-ranged like melee type weapon. You also have like a hammer that's kind of like your heavy weapon. You get like a mortar type weapon where you actually like stand still and kind of move the reticule, and it launches this big like explosive shot, but you kind of have to trade off like, oh, it's a big shot, but you're stationary, so you could get attacked by something else. So there's a lot of different variety there with all the weapons. I just personally wish there was more melee type weapons instead of all just ranged weapons. But that being said, still really enjoyed the game. It's also very short. I beat in about like 5-6 hours. It has like other content too. There's like New Game Plus. There was a lot of upgrades and stuff I didn't get for all my weapons. But overall, very much enjoyed it. Supergiant does very good games. And I wish I had more time to put into. I'd love to play their game we were just talking about, Hades, because like I said, I heard that's doing very well. And to me, that looks like they're taking the best parts about all their previous games into this one and making it great. But right now, I'll get to it later. I'll get to it eventually. It's not going anywhere. Anyways, though, last but not least, I'm a Call of Duty fan. I gotta save the Call of Duty for last. Over the past weekend, there was an alpha for the newest Call of Duty, Black Ops Cold War. I wanted to play more of this. I actually wanted to stream some of this. I didn't realize, though, that the alpha ended, weirdly enough, during the middle of the day on Sunday. So in the morning, I got to play like 3 matches. Then me and my girlfriend, we went to do something real quick. And I come back and I'm like, I'm greeted with the message that says, "Thanks for playing the beta. See you in October," or alpha. And I'm like, what? And then I did a quick Google search and it's like, oh, it ended like really early. And I'm like, oh, darn. Because I actually really loved this game. I thought it was a lot of fun. So for those of you who don't know, this one's set during the Cold War era, during like 1980s. It's it's kind of like the same kind of gameplay style of Modern Warfare, where you have like all these different attachments that you put on your guns that all give the guns different stats. But they made it a little more simpler. There isn't the extra sprint. I think it's called tactical sprint in Modern Warfare. In Modern Warfare, you can also like lean around corners, almost like Rainbow Six Siege style, where you can kind of like mount. That's what it's called. But they don't have that in Black Ops Cold War. They kind of simplified it a little bit, made it, I would say, more of a traditional type of Call of Duty, which actually seemed to play pretty well. In the 3 games I played, I used 3 different weapons, and all of them felt really good. Something that they did, which is very interesting, is they made all the kill streaks in this game score-based, so they're called score streaks. And you essentially, whatever you do, you build up towards these score streaks. So you can get a kill, you can capture an objective, you can defend an objective, you can destroy an enemy kill streak. They're all going to give you points to accumulate towards your score streaks. And the most interesting thing is now these score streaks don't reset on your death. So they're just a permanent thing that you're always building up towards. So it doesn't, I think that's a good idea, because it doesn't matter really your skill level. As long as you're just playing the game, you at some point should be able to get all your score streaks. So that means you will get your big like attack helicopters or AC-130s or whatever. Like you should be able to get those hypothetically. The way it kind of balances out is if you're a very good player, the more like the higher your kill streak you're building, you're essentially getting a multiplier for your score streak. So if you're getting 3 kills, you're getting a 3 times score point per kill, essentially, if that makes sense. And I think that's a smart change. Again, they only put a limited amount of stuff in the alpha. I get it, for us to play with, but I liked what was there. I thought the maps seemed pretty good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. They also changed. Now there's like you can pick like I think it's called tactical gear, which is like something that will charge over a certain amount of time. These seem new, and these are like different pieces of equipment that you put down that are kind of like somewhat powerful. One was like a mine, which is kind of like the trip mine from the, I mean, it's been in other Call of Duty games, but I think it was smart that they put it on the equipment slot now. There's also a field mic, which is this little thing you put on the ground, and it will like ping enemies who move in that. Like it'll show their sound. So I guess it's almost like a little UAV essentially that you place on the ground, but it could get shot and destroyed, or there are perks that counter it. I thought that seemed interesting. Also, one of the things I like about this is pretty common in the Black Ops games, but they include the wild cards for your creative classes, which can drastically change how each class is. For example, one is called Gunfighter, which is you can just put 9 different, or basically all the different slots of a attachment for the gun can be filled out. So since Modern Warfare, every like attachment on a gun or every like piece of a gun can be changed, like the barrel, the grip, the sight, the stock, the handle, the magazine, like everything can be changed and alters like the properties of the gun, like how much stability it has, how much range it has. It's very in depth, and it does show you now in Black Ops Cold War like how much each of these things do, like with numbers, which is really nice. But yeah, with the gunfighter perk, you can like essentially max out all the different attachments, which is pretty neat. But then there's other wild cards which are pretty good. Like one is like, oh, you just get to have 2 of each perk, which is what I went for because I thought that seemed really good. I'm trying to think of any other notable changes because I mean it is just Call of Duty at the end of the day. You guys kind of know what that is. I thought the sound design was really good. That's an important thing for Call of Duty. You know, you always want to have a good pair of headphones. Sound is knowledge. You can hear where the other player is running around. That seemed pretty good. Also just liked how the guns looked and felt and sounded. They all were pretty cool. Overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun. And
Cool.
And with that being said, that wraps up my long list of what I watched and played. Mike, we're going to move on to our last segment of the podcast here, which is questions. If any of y'all want to send us in a question, you can email us at levelwithmepodcast@gmail.com, or if you go to the Level With Me Podcast Instagram account, every Monday we'll put up a poll where you can submit questions, and if we read them on the podcast, you'll get a shout out. Mike, do we have any Instagram questions this week?
I'm afraid not, Corey. Despite the fact that we've been out for the last week, we do not have any questions on the Instagram messages. So
that's
I'm
absolutely
sorry.
fine. It is not your fault. We also do not have any on the Gmail, but that's okay. No problem. Remember, though, if you want to submit those, levelwithmepodcast@gmail.com or the Instagram Level With Me Podcast. Monday we'll have a question thing. I mean, you can also just DM the Level With Me Podcast on Instagram and just be like, hey, there's a question I want to ask on the podcast. I'm sure we'll answer it. And the questions, they can be about really anything, you know, video game related, collectible related, food, travel, movies, nerdy stuff. It doesn't really matter. But that being said, that's going to do it for the Level With Me podcast this week. If y'all want to check me out on the socials, I'm GameBro Corey everywhere. There should be more content coming to the Level With Me channel now that I'm back and we can, you know, get the swing of things going. I want to do something different with my Twitch channel. I'm seeing this vision where I want to like let's play games on my Twitch channel and essentially archive them and put them on the Level With Me podcast. That way I can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to say.
Yeah, you can do that. That's not a bad idea.
So I might, this is big air quotes, be let's playing games in the future on my Twitch channel, but you'll also be able to see them then on the YouTube channel. And I'm thinking about maybe doing Mario 64 on my Twitch stream. Maybe even just playing through the rest of the games that I've been playing on the Level With Me podcast channel, like Remnant and Last of Us Part 2, because I still want to beat those. And I'm also looking at Halloween and thinking of spooky games I'd like to play for Level With Me podcast. Granted, I'm very far off from actually completing the games I'm playing now, but maybe I'll just put them on pause and play something else just so, you know, I can put out more content. I don't know. Just thinking about other stuff. Mike, what do you got to plug?
Well, I do want to say I think it's a fun idea. I think, you know, with Halloween coming around the corner, I wouldn't mind us doing like a little Halloween special. Maybe we can do like
that
some
would be
spooky
great.
games.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys ever want to find me on social media, you can find me mainly on YouTube and Instagram at the Collector's Vault. Again, if you guys are fans of not only just video games, but if you guys are a fan of old school collectibles, that's basically where my expertise is. I'm always talking about, you know, like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And all that kind of stuff. And I'm, you know, always just trying to have a little bit of fun. You guys, you know, the information will be down below in the description. You guys can always, you know, reach out and talk to me. I love hearing from you guys. I'm sure Corey does too. We really do want you guys to partake in this, and just to contribute to level with me, and to just keep watching our content, because we really do like putting out content for you guys. So, and if you guys have any suggestions for games, please let us know. Kind of like I said earlier,
that'd be fun,
I might do like a poll for my next Let's Play with Corey. So if you guys want, please just reach out, DM us on Instagram, or comment down below on the YouTube channel. It all helps out. It really does.
Yes, I agree. And with that being said, that's going to do it for the Level With Me podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. Please, we really appreciate it if you just share through word of mouth, the podcast and our channel and whatnot. Just tell someone how cool we are, and we want to grow this thing, We want our little plant to sprout into a beautiful big tree.
Indeed. And if you guys haven't already, go play Super Mario All-Stars. 3D All-Stars. And the original All-Stars.
Or just check Mike's mailbox and get a free copy.
Bye,
guys.
Bye.